Right, welcome back to another episode of the On the Ramp podcast. And today we have a different guest, not a garage owner guest, a used car dealer guest.
Yeah.
So Jamie Caple from Car Quay, not
Car Quay.
Car Quay.
Yeah, don't quay me.
No, don't quay me. No.
I'm gone.
So no, you have not had to travel too far. You're only in Derby, but it still took you a good part of an hour.
Yeah, traffic was appalling this morning.
Yeah.
But no, not too far. Nice, sunny, bright day, and excited to be here, guys.
No, well, thank you for coming. So from our side of the industry, we sometimes transact with used car dealers that, and there's a bit of...
They're hated.
Well, I wasn't going to go there straight away, but there is also a bit of intrigue from garage owners who have considered selling cars, or they've acquired a car from a customer, sold the car, made a nice little profit on it, and been tempted to dive in.
Yes.
Which is what we did.
Yes.
And it's been hard.
I can imagine.
It's been extremely hard work. So it would be really good. And Leo's obviously been involved in vehicle sales, out of vehicle sales,
I went back in for my sins.
Van sales, all of it. So I think there's a lot to discuss today. And I think that selfishly, we could probably learn quite a bit from you.
And maybe I can learn a bit from you guys as well.
Maybe. Hopefully.
I'll try.
Yeah, maybe. So do you want to just briefly introduce yourself, what your business is, what the setup of the business is, and really how you got into the industry as well? Would be interesting.
How long have we got?
As long as you want.
I'll try and condense it down. So I own a garage called Car Quay, which is an independent used car retailer based on the outskirts of Derby at the very picturesque Stenson Marina. So we're on a marina, boats, water, scenery, restaurant next door, pubs, nice place to be. Set the business up off the back of a previous business I had, which went belly up. And honestly, I set this business up to ultimately help dig myself out of a financial situation that I found myself in through the collapse of a previous business that I owned. Started in 2017 and had no aspirations to ever get as big as we've got. I'd done that before, so I said, no, we're just going to stay small, not going to have any employees, be me, my mum and dad will help out. They're not AutoTrader, but... And that was that. And we started, found a unit on the outskirts of Derby. Bizarrely, the site is next to a pub, which in 99, Millennium, you remember the Millennium Night? I don't know how old you guys are.
Yeah,
maybe a bit younger.
38.
Okay, so yeah, you'd have been, that might have been one of your first nights out, maybe, I don't know. But what happened was there was a local girl in Derby who won a competition on Radio 1 to have Judge Jules DJ at a party of her choice at a bar or a restaurant.
That's cool.
So the Bubble Inn, which is literally right next to my unit, I got invited on New Year's Eve at the Millennium to go there. Judge Jules played an hour set. They had big satellites on the roof. They beamed it out on Radio 1. Cool set. If you can find it online, it's really, really good set. He played for an hour. And then later that night, I went to Progress, which was the big nightclub in Derby, and I met my wife. So there's a nice little link in because...
So it felt meant to be when you found this unit there.
When I found the unit, I remember pulling up and I remember looking and thinking, this is
Is this the same unit now? Or is
yeah. This is the unit. So it's next to a pub called the Bubble Inn, and as I say, that's where later that night I met my wife. So it's a nice little story with that. Yeah. Moved in, at the time. My previous business was we did a TV show. I don't know if you've seen it, but I think you mentioned it.
Yeah.
That was about to go out on on Dave.
What was the TV show called?
Used Car Wars.
Used Car Wars.
Yeah, which was basically, it was on Dave.
Is it still available to see now?
Yeah. It's on. Oh, I've got it on Sky Go.
Yeah.
It's saved.
DVD copies will send you some out.
You can't delete it as well. So if anyone goes in to try and delete, I've kind of locked it so you can't delete it. So that was kind of going on in the background, but what had happened as my previous business had collapsed, unfortunately, as a director, I'd signed various directors' guarantees for stocking facilities and the like, and I kind of thought I'd escaped it, but got to December 2016, I got served papers from BCA. I had 14 days to pay them hundreds of thousands of pounds, otherwise they're going to make me bankrupt. So
was this because of overdue payments?
This was because of stocking facilities that were ran red. I'd left the business. I thought I'd got detached from these stocking facilities.
Oh, I see. So this came afterwards. Oh, wow. Okay, that's tough.
So at this point, I was selling cheapies off my drive.
Yeah.
And I was quite happy doing it. I was watching daytime TV. I was in my pants at
Watching
10 o'clock
Dave.
still.
Watching
stuff.
repeats.
And then, as I say, I got the knock on the door and got served papers from BCA. So I was in a situation where I really had to. There was no way they would have allowed me or put some form of payment plan together for me with me turning up at BCA every month with a load of cash. There's your next payment. Had to set a business up really for them to probably allow me to pay them back the way that I did.
That would actually come to fruition. Yeah.
So the previous business was a limited company.
Yes, but
personal guarantees.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we did a deal with BCA. I say and then they put a charge on my house.
So my phone one second. Sorry. Yeah, put a charge.
Put a charge on my property, and then basically the deal was as if I defaulted on any payment, I had to pay them a big deposit. I took a personal loan from NatWest, a home improvement loan. Went straight to BCA, and because I had no money, I left the business with pretty much nothing, and then had agreed to pay them back every month. But the caveat was, is if I missed a payment, they'd just come and take my house.
What stopped you from just going
bankrupt?
Yeah, I'm sure it was a lot of money that was, and it would have probably been easier just to.
Yeah, I don't know why, and again, maybe it doesn't matter. My credit rating has always been important to me. I don't know why. So I pay my bills. I've always had a decent credit rating. I've never defaulted on things, and I kept that. So even now, despite the business going belly up, I went into an agreement with them, and that was enough. So it was a challenging time, but
what year was this?
This was the papers got served at the end of 2016. So we go into 2017.
How old was you then? Sorry, just
36, 37.
And when was the TV show out? What year was that?
So the TV show was filmed in 2016, but didn't go out until spring 2017.
Oh, really? So when that was going out, this has already been
business
going.
is gone.
Right. Okay.
It's a real shame because the TV people they spent a lot of money making that show.
Did you get paid for that show?
Got a site fee. So where the money comes in is when they do season 2, season 3. You would start getting sponsors, backers.
Yeah.
You might have, because they talked to us. They'd done other TV shows, Motor Trade ones, and they said, look, on season 3, you can see they've all got nice Flash Amiga watches. They've got the state of the art valeting equipment, and this was all stuff where people would supply it.
Oh, I see. From a sponsor point of view.
Yeah, and you would then start to get a fee. We got a site fee. That was it. When the show was being filmed, I was aware after episode 2 or 3 that I became aware of some irregularities, some financial irregularities in my business.
What was that business structure like? How big did that business get?
A couple hundred cars.
Oh wow! So
again,
big.
So it was a decent operation.
How many staff?
Yeah. Nearly 20, I think.
And there was multiple directors, management team.
Yeah, and it was it was quite a. At the time, social media hadn't really been utilised particularly well, I believe, in the industry.
Yeah.
And we were one of the first dealers to jump on it.
Yeah, yeah.
Got 80-odd thousand followers on Facebook. This was really without advertising as well. And I mean, you didn't have to really advertise initially on Facebook, and then after time they cottoned on to, they had to start making money, didn't they? It's like YouTube, I think, was around for years, didn't it? Not making money, and then gets to a point where you reach that critical mass, don't you? And suddenly you start making loads of money. But we did that, so we were quite visible, quite high profile in the industry, quite forward thinking. We were kind of the darlings of AutoTrader at one point, and some of these other companies, and then obviously everything went belly up.
What was that company called?
Car Quay. So again, it was difficult because in some respects the failure of the business was quite visible, and from a ego point of view, it's very difficult.
And you're quite involved in the trade at this point.
Yeah, and to see something that you've built and everybody's saying these guys are to then it all collapse was tough. It was tough, but ultimately, put all that to once because I used to Google myself, man. I mean, it's pathetic, but you'd see like the local rag and people in the comments section, it'd be like annihilating. My wife
it affects you though, doesn't it?
She'd be like, step away from the computer, get away. But I then found myself in a situation where it was, I suppose, two options. You can either lose everything, or I can try and not. I took some legal advice. I found some fairly long-winded, convoluted way of avoiding paying BCA back, which would have involved me making myself bankrupt. It would have involved my parents basically suing me. It was messy, but there was a way out. But I just was like, look, you know, I'd then be 7 years before I could get. Do you know what I mean? All these things.
It doesn't come for free, does it?
And you can do a lot in 7 years, can't you?
And equally, the whole.
Clearly, you did.
Well, yeah, but you know, the whole not being able to move house. You know, there was so much in my mind, and it got to a point where I just rang BCA. I spoke to some guy who was trying to do a workaround. I'd invested 5, 6, 7 grand with another legal company trying to worm out of the stocking agreement that I'd signed. Whereas, well, did I sign that? Was it witnessed properly? And I was spending all this money, time, effort, and energy trying to avoid facing actually what I needed to do, which is fucking. Sorry, excuse my language. You just pay it.
It's a MOTOTRADE podcast.
Fine,
it's going to happen.
Fine.
Did you feel disjustice? But because of what happened, you said there was some irregularities in the previous, or did you feel like, hang on, this is on me, this is my responsibility?
Ultimately, I can only ever blame myself.
But do you blame yourself, or did you struggle with that?
Well, no, because what was happening was in some respects out of my control. But taking a step back
in the business that were influencing what happened in the ultimate ends, but it fell.
I wasn't running the financials in the business. Yeah. Okay, I'll say that. But
were you a partner, or was it your business?
There was 2 of us and then a third director who had a small piece.
Right, okay, yeah.
But I can only blame myself because I allowed that situation to happen. So the buck stops with me. So despite everything, I can only blame myself, you know.
Although I can imagine the day that those, you know, you're going about your life, you're just doing what you're doing, getting back on top of it, and then those papers land.
Yes, terrifying.
Do you remember that day?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll tell you what happened. In the village we live in, there was quite a posh village in Derby called Corndon. No shops, but a couple of the footballers lived in the village, and one of their wives is a bit of a pet project. I ever think it was ever going to make money. One of the houses or whatever turned into a cake shop.
Yeah.
So we were having coffee and cake in the village, and I got a phone call to say, "Hello, are you home?" "No." "Oh, you need to come home. We've got some important paperwork for you." So this was in December. I was having a coffee and a cake. Wife, stepson, you know, things are great. And then,
did you have a feeling it was going to come and bite you on the arse, or did this come unexpected?
Oh yeah, there was always the spectre of what is going to happen. There were 3 stocking agreements that we had. Motornovo's stocking facility was ran badly, and they pulled halfway through filming the TV show. So suddenly, the forecourt basically started to look somewhat barer than it had done. But that was fine. We dealt with that. But then there were 2 other stocking agreements I was on. We had a next gear facility and we had a BCA facility. And I managed to detach myself from the next gear facility. And then the BCA facility, I'd submitted all the paperwork to get off, and I disappeared off on holiday, thinking that was it. I was done.
So was the business still running then, but you left?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I left because I knew there were things going on in the background that were terrifying, if I'm honest with you, to me. And I thought, I just need to go. And at that point, my parents were quite invested into the business financially. But I made a decision I needed to get out, and I had to get out, and I did. But unfortunately, I didn't detach myself from that facility and ended up doing a deal with them. So all I would say, if anyone's watching, if you get a stocking facility and you sign for it, you need to understand that they will come for it, and they'll come for you.
Well, as business owners, I mean, you've got them, I've got them, personal guarantees. It's like
you get to the point where they're like complacent, because it's like
it's just quite easy to do, isn't it?
You know,
yeah.
And
before
we've got van rentals. So we've got over £1 million worth of van assets on the hire purchase, and it gets to the point where it's like, well, I signed another one because if you're coming for me, I'm screwed anyway. So like one more.
I'm not anti-stocking facilities. If they're used properly, then they can make money. Yeah. Money makes money, doesn't it?
They're a means to an end, aren't they? And I think they allow you to get to a position, and then as long as you've got a plan, to kind of like, well, if we do this for 3 years, and then we can allocate some of them profits and so on, get a better balance sheet, get a better lender.
Yeah.
Whereas if you don't ever start with that, it makes it much slower in the long run.
It does, and you know, I think too many people who set up car dealership places straight away, they're on the groups, they're on Facebook, they see what their friends are doing, and they all want to sell big, flash, nice cars. And you know, this is my advice for anyone: is sell what you can make money on. Doesn't matter what you drop. But again, a lot of people in this industry are very ego-driven, aren't they? And there's a lot of people who like the cars because that's why they get in this industry. So perhaps I don't
selling what they like rather than what will make them the best money. Yeah,
you know. So, but a way to do that often is to take a stocking facility. There are disciplines that stocking facilities put into you which we don't have, and actually in some respects I would quite like them. You talked stock turn earlier.
It encourages that, doesn't it?
You're forced, because you've got to be thinking like in 30 days that's going to fall off the plan, 20 grand's going to go, you know what I mean, and I'm going to have paid all those charges on that car, so it encourages you to be turning your stock quicker. Because
I remember when we was doing car sales before, and we had next gear, and also they take chunk of equity out, and you end up selling a car at a loss to get the cash out of it, because it's like, you know, you've got equity in it, but the P&L will be down, but you need to, and it,
you know, as we got, so last year in October, used car values dropped quite dramatically. And the trade seemed to just slow right down. You know, we'd had an incredible first 6 months. So from April till September 2023 was really buoyant, really strong. And then it fell off halfway through September. I mean, we were so far ahead in the first 2 weeks of September that I'm sat there thinking this is going to be by far the best month we've ever had. And then it just fell off a cliff. And I was like, okay, yeah. And what I didn't do at that time was react quickly enough. I should have started adjusting prices and smelt the wind, but it was fine. So
when you've had a long run like that, you never really know, do you?
No. You're high on confidence, aren't you?
Well, you think
how
to
long
yourself,
do you leave a situation until you, because you might make a knee-jerk reaction as well.
Exactly.
And,
so two weeks in, we're flying. It was like, okay, it's fine. And we still had a good September, but then in October it dropped. And then prices started to collapse. I think from October to January, I think used cars readjusted 15 or 20% back, you know, having been consistently going up throughout the pandemic. So for those guys who'd got facilities who during buoyant months of July and August and September had paid all the money at auction for these cars, suddenly going into October where the tap has turned off, you're seeing all these cars that you maybe paid 10 grand for, and you're having to distress sell them, because if they fall off the plan and then they get blocked, a 10 grand car then might end up selling at auction for 7 grand. So if you were going to be closed by, you know, if the people with the facility came and I'm taking my cars away, you're then presented with that bill once they go back through auction. It's terrifying. So you were faced with, I would have suggested some garages were then selling cars they'd paid 10 for, 7,995 in them, 8,495 in them. So you're distress selling to blow, because you haven't got the money in the bank as they fall off.
I spoke to one of the area guys in next gear 4 months ago, and he was saying in January they had a few kind of big problems, and they're at a point now where they're, even when they're bringing on new, because next gear pretty much always, the thing is they'll lend money to almost anyone. And but now they've had to tighten their belt a little bit because they've been stung massively, but then they've also got to grow themselves to recover what they've lost. But I think early this year there was some big kind of all that stock out there, wrong side of it. And
have you seen the market like it's been over the last 12 months before?
So the market like now, I don't feel is particularly strong. I'm not going to lie. So we've had an average year, I would say. August and September. Actually, if I look at what we made in those 2 months, if we could consistently do that over 12, I'd be happy. But again, October for some reason this year seemed to fall off again.
We had a really bad October. November, the start of this month's been quite good.
We started okay. You know, we're ticking along, but you know, the effort for the reward I feel is not worth it. But how can I put it? I think we do the job well. So I would say I think we're potentially top 10% in terms of how we perform.
What makes you think that? What do you do well?
Because normally in times when people tell me it's tough, we've always done well. Now I'm finding it harder, and I see news every single day, not necessarily mainstream media news. I see news through the trade, where most dealer groups have reported significant adjustments in profitability. And redundancies. I see dealers falling by the wayside. So if we're finding it tough, I feel that there's going to be other dealers are finding it as tough, if not tougher.
And this is because you're quite confident in your ability, your process, your decision making.
Yes, to sell.
And so it's things outside your control which are affecting the market.
But this is what I feel like is quite brutal about the vehicle sales trade. Like, we run garages.
When you're saying this, you're doing everything right with car sales. It's just time now.
It's highly predictable what we do. MOT season, car comes in, it's broken, fix it. Not many external variables. a bit if the cost of living is a bit of a squeeze, then customers may authorise slightly less work.
Yes.
But vehicle sales, you can be doing the whole thing perfectly and then get shafted by some external factor.
Yeah.
So it's almost like you've got to be good at running a business and then almost like you're trading in stocks and shares because you've got...
I think it's only like back to zero sales, isn't it? You know, if you sell a sofa or any of these like items like that, because when you sell a car, in theory, you're not going to sell a customer in for like 2-3 years, you know, or never again.
Yeah, we normally see them about 3 minutes later when everything like popped on.
But you say like a sofa.
Yeah.
A sofa doesn't depreciate, really.
Yeah, but if you buy a sofa, you're going to be 5 years.
Yeah, it's going to be another 5 years.
So
but imagine if all of their stock was just each day just chipping down in value. Then you've got to make this decision between, do I keep it on a stocking loan or do I have to sell that at a loss to bring that... As well as managing staff, prep, business, process, operations, finance. You've then also got to...
Yeah, there's this big beast sat out there, which is like, them cars have got a heartbeat, and
absolutely,
if something happens, then...
The thing is that, because I was chatting to someone about this yesterday, and he's like, oh, you know, when the stock went down 20%, so your value or your net worth of your stock dropped by 20%. And I kind of said, well, no, it didn't. He's like, well, how do you mean? I said, because as the stock is depreciating, you're selling it. You know what I mean? So
if you didn't sell anything, then the whole lot's gone down.
Exactly.
But you start to churn.
But if you say October to January, stock depreciated 5% a month. The stock that you were replacing cars with in November, you were buying them 5% less. So it hits us and it hurt.
Does it not? Does it not take a bit of time to catch up?
It does. But as I say, we certainly didn't write off 20% of the value of our cars. It would just, you got to kind of January, and the stragglers you were selling at Civ, you know. So if we bought something in say September and you didn't sell it till January, and you'd paid 10 grand for it, and you'd originally put it up at say 12,995, come January that was like 9,995 or 10,495. So you were kind of selling some of your cars to not make any money. And ultimately, if you look at the financial result of the business for the second half of financial year 2023 to 2024. The second half, for profitability, we made a quarter of what we made in that second 6 months versus what we'd made in the first 6 months. But I did a bit of analysis and I looked at what cars had dropped by and the depreciation, and I thought to myself, well, if stock had remained level, we would have significantly made more money. So again, in a way, you're giving yourself some comfort.
You've almost got to adjust for that external factor.
Mentally, you're saying to yourself, well, I cannot affect what has happened out there. And if prices hadn't dropped, we would have made that. And would I have been happy with that result? Yeah, probably would have been.
Did you manage to keep confidence in, so say like the September, October time, we knew stuff was dropping, but you had to keep going out and buying. Was you still confident in your buying? Because I know some people are like, well, what should I do? Because if the stuff's going down, when do I stop? And
I was buying. So we use AutoTrader dealer portal. Shout out to AutoTrader. We get 23 grand a month. We pay them. But,
they just reported their profits, didn't they?
You know. But listen, they do well. They drive.
Yeah, they allow us to do what we do, don't they?
And we wouldn't pay it if it didn't work. You know. So that tells you what a car retails at.
Yeah.
So that's my Bible. So if I'm going to a sale, and say there's 100 cars at the sale, I'll go through it. There may be 30 of those cars would meet our criteria for our stock.
Have you done that analysis pre-auction?
So I do, yeah. Before I go to the auction, I go through every car. Right, lot one, it's a BMW 530D 2015, done 87,000 miles. Right, cool, that's a Car Quay car. So I key its reg and mileage into dealer portal, tells me what we can sell it for. I try to put £3,000 start across every car. So if it retails at say 11 grand, I would be aiming to buy that car for £8,000, including fees.
How much of an issue? How much do you pay attention to the days to sell metric?
Not as much.
Some people swear by
they
that
do
in the big dealer groups.
But I've put cars in before that have given you a 98 retail rating. You then put a 6 month different aged equivalent variant in, you get a 33.
Yeah.
And I don't. I'm not saying
there are outliers.
It doesn't work. You know, if we had a significantly smaller operation with significantly, and I mean significantly less cars,
so you needed to turn the stock more.
Well, not so much that. I would perhaps have more time to be a bit more picky in terms of locating vehicles and to genuinely see if that made a difference. But when they first bought retail checkout, it was in my previous business, and I remember buying a Volkswagen Golf R in the blue. What's the blue called, man? The blues, I forget. In fact, your workshop rather than sales.
Yeah, we went like.
maybe a performance blue or something like that. But I remember they came to visit us and they went, that car's 1,500 quid too dear and it's got really low retail rating as well. And we sold the car within 24 hours and they're like, oh, do you want to sign up for this retail checker? I was like, no, I'll pass. I'm all right. And maybe that one experience that, again, was maybe a complete freak, you know what I mean, made me not necessarily embrace it as maybe they would have wanted us to. But no, I don't really. I don't. There's the odd car. I bought an AMG GT a year ago. And again,
my favourite car, that.
They're lovely, but I always say to myself that when I go and buy myself a really nice car, something bad happens. It's like the universe telling me that you ain't ready yet. You can have one, but not yet. I bought an AMG GT in the first week of October last year. So I blame myself.
Is this for yourself? Or
for the forecourt, but for me to run, man. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Need test driving.
And the arse fell out of the job, so I kind of blame myself. And again, main character syndrome. It's my fault.
Your fault.
Yeah, it's my fault that the whole trade, the price has dropped. It's not, is it? It's a ludicrous thing to say. But that car had a retail rating of 1 or 2. And it took me 8 months to sell it.
Yeah. How much was in that?
When I bought it, I paid halfway between trade and retail as well. I think I paid 57,750 for it. I think it booked at 54 or 55. It retailed at 64.
So not massive.
But yes, there wasn't obscene money in it. Well, it's still $6,000, but I priced it quite higher because I didn't want to sell it. I thought, sod it, I'll just put it on at a slight, and if we sell it, great.
Yeah.
And then we're in.
Was it fun?
It was May or June. It was great. It was lovely. It wasn't an S, but then to be fair with you, I've they're rear wheel drive, aren't they? It's hard enough to keep the power down. I mean,
as it is.
C63S's, yeah, and so. But yeah, I don't know why I didn't say. I think it was the wheels. I because I'd had it in stock so long. I remember messaging on one of the trade groups, trade to trade, saying, "Does anyone want to buy this?" And everyone's like, "Oh, you need to change the wheels. That's why it's not sold, because it had the kind of fanny." He said fanny, like kind of almost fanned 5 spokes. And then people were saying you want to get those technical looking ones, almost like the ones that are on the Audis with the multi-spoke ones in black. But we ended up selling it. But I think I blew. We sell it for 52 grand. So I blew $6 grand selling that car. But
any car you have for yourself, you're always going to blow a bit of money.
Well, I don't like to, but that's the thing. I don't ever want to blow, and because I see it as being a waste. We're in the motor trade.
Do you like cars?
I do, but okay. Do I like? So historically, I used to buy the car magazines, Auto Express, Exchange, Top Gear occasionally. Used to like watching Top Gear. Used to have a passing interest in motorsport. Not much, but I'd keep up to date with who's F1. Now, not really. I like to drive a nice car. Don't get me wrong, I do. But driving a nice car and losing money versus driving then I would pick to drive something else every day. I would. But like at the minute, I'm in.
It's almost like a curse, isn't it? As you're driving it, you're thinking this value's going down this
way. It is. Yeah. I'm in a lovely Range Rover at the minute, like 2017 autobiography, 5-litre petrol, and bought it 6 months ago, and it had a massive start in it at the time, and it's not sold. We've had a couple of sales, deposits, and then finance has failed or the customer's pulled out. But I'm still in that now, and to be honest, there's still a chunk of money in that car. I think now probably I'm going to reduce some of the heavier stuff that we've got at the minute. I don't know. We never seem to make a lot of profit.
Do you mean the bigger value stuff, or the bigger vehicles?
The higher value stuff.
Higher value
so at the
stuff,
minute we got a couple of Cayennes in, circa 40 odd grand, 50 grand. I've got that Range Rover that I'm driving that's like mid 30s.
Will you aim to have more margin in those bigger ones, or do you stick to your 3?
We tend to buy the odd lump to run. So there's a couple of people in the business, that I like to be in nicer cars, and I get a couple of SORs for heavier stuff because, again, margin's tougher at the minute. Prices seem to be, despite the fact that we're not as busy as I feel we should be, prices at auction and the sales are still high. It's really weird.
Is the market still coming down quicker than normal, or is it?
I would like us to be busier, and I feel it's been busier. And I feel that, again, I've always shut myself off from the rest of the trade in terms of listening to other people saying we're not busy.
Yeah, that winds me up. People seek it as an excuse. Oh, you look busy. Okay, I can relax. If you look busy, I'm all right.
It works for me. It relaxes me when I see those posts.
I know. And it shouldn't. It gives you some comfort, doesn't it?
But does,
But it's also bad for the team, I think, as well, because then your team kind of go, oh, yeah, it's fine. Because if you think it's fine, then we can all just wait for the phone to ring.
I know, and they don't. They need to be making it happen, don't they? They need to be hitting every lead and following up. And then when we've taken an order, keep communicating, make sure the deal stays in bed. One of the issues we have is we sell a lot of cars and a lot of deals cancel. Sometimes
you can find an excuse. School holidays, whatever. There's always something. Budget, and
well, I do feel and have seen. I feel trends certainly since we opened in 2017 that pre-election gives consumers a bit of jitters. I don't know. It seemed like when the Tories got in 2019, as soon as they got in, I think it was 19 or 18. There was like you had a lull, and then suddenly the tap turned on again. So it was the Brexit deal, I think, was done in 19. Again, we're going to get Brexit done, But once they'd said it was done, again, it just felt like we can relax again. I felt pre-election this year that coming up to the election, there was just, I don't know.
On the Ramp is very proudly sponsored by Castrol and the race group from Certus Energy. Our own business, Lindley's Auto Centres, has been using Castrol products via the race group for at least 10 years. We get our own account manager. They help us set up the oil portfolios across the branches. And there's also someone to ring if we've got any technical queries or general queries. And having that relationship with the account manager, I think, is really important. We get dual branded workwear. So just like what I'm wearing now, we get this free for all members of staff. We get to use the Castrol brand across our entire business. So things like building signage, websites, general marketing, etc. And working with a globally recognized brand like Castrol, I believe, can really elevate your own brand. There's a rewards platform. So for every purchase, we accumulate points that we can redeem against certain items on this reward platform, which is pretty cool. And then there's an integration via our garage management software that allows us to actually see the exact oil product code that should be used in that vehicle, which in today's world and the complexities of oil is actually really helpful. So if you want to learn more about how Castrol can help elevate your business and you want to learn more about how the race group can help you, then please click on the link in the description below. Thank you. We felt it, didn't we, in our trade?
Yeah.
July. Was it July? June, July? We collect lots of data from lots of garages.
Okay.
And we share the data and have like a future bookings trend. So you can literally see the pattern of the industry.
Okay.
And it's extremely predictable. Like to the week,
Really? Something
year,
happened.
Year ahead, and then this July kind of caught a lot of people off guard because it just went quiet, and you had football, elections, so and so. Like there was a few things all going on at around about the same time. But like you said, you just almost look at anything like it's an excuse.
I know,
and it can also be the reason why you're busy or the reason why you're quiet.
But same happened with the budget. The week or so before the budget, it just seemed like.
What do you think of the budget?
People are terrible.
Yeah, it's bad, isn't it?
Have
you calculated the cost increase?
No, but approximately. I look at my wage line and think, but more so, corporation tax rate's gone up, hasn't it? And they've portrayed that it was going to be a very pro-business budget, pro-growth budget.
Pro-growth, yeah.
And all they've done is raise taxes that are just going to get wasted on public services. And I say wasted, that it's my issue with government. There's just waste and inefficiencies. And
you see, Elon Musk has been appointed now
as
the chief money saver.
Yeah.
I think that's good. It'll be interesting to watch that anyway. And
I'm.
It's very different. I like that. Doing something different.
Well, I think if you look at Twitter or X as it's now called, he got rid of 75% of the staff. Now, I spend a lot of time, and I don't post a lot on there, but I spend a lot of time on X. Of all the social networks, that's where I spend most of my time. And by decreasing the staff by 75%, the service has not decreased. They've put more changes and products and improvements in there than have ever been in there. Yet you've done it with a quarter of the staff. I feel governments are just these huge machines that beasts.
Inefficient machines.
That need feeding.
I was watching a clip of him yesterday, and there's 450 government agencies in America. So if you look at the amount of years America's been there, it means they've opened 2 things a year. Yeah. And these are like agencies in we have like the FCA, or there's all these different things.
Regulatory bodies.
Yeah, and they all start off with good intentions to protect the law, but then they all get their own versions. They get all these extra fat that comes with it, which you don't need.
No, it's I believe in small government, low taxes, and off the back of that, I feel people don't need their hands holding as much as we get our hands held in the world. And I think, don't get me started. I could talk about the NHS, but I'm not going to. And just, what should governments really do? They should, I don't know. I would quite happily welcome Musk. It's probably going to be a controversial statement to come in and help efficiency in our government. I think you could potentially do away with half of it and still.
I just think that so much of the economy is driven from small and medium business.
I know.
And all they've done is just remove a bucket load of bottom line profit from SMEs, which would have been reinvested. Yeah, some of it's going to go to salaries.
It's not even bottom line profit, is it? Because a lot of people, it's turnover on tax, isn't it? So people are reinvesting this before it gets to the bottom line often.
But this is why I think it should have just been either income tax or corp tax.
I think,
put it at the end. Don't put it before it gets there.
And also I was thinking as well, it's going to, not that this is a politics talk, but this is going to be the first time where, if you look at inflation, that affected different businesses at different times, depending on what sector you were in. If it was importing, Brexit, that was different sectors, different times.
Yes.
Whereas this is going to be April, bang, everyone. So will that drive inflation?
It's got to
instantly.
It has to.
Yeah.
Well, it's the other thing, the minimum wage thing, and I'm not against people being paid fairly for what they do, but living wage, minimum wage, I don't know. By raising it, have they actually just secretly put loads of people into a higher tax band so that they're going to pay more tax? Do you know what I mean? So actually, they market it as, we're going to increase your wage. But the reality is by increasing everybody's wages, they're just increasing their tax revenue.
And the other thing is,
it will increase tax revenue.
And
who pays for it?
And people will be growing out of the problem, so we come from growth, which means you got higher VAT, so it's that tenfold as well. So we're all going to work a bit harder, sell a bit more stuff, more VAT going through. So
that independent government, whatever it is, has done the analysis and they've said after X amount of years, no one's going to be better off.
No.
Yeah.
And is the economy going to grow less?
It may well do.
You've got to think it.
If you factor in immigration, then the actual growth per capita is lower, isn't it?
It's lower. Yeah. It's not.
We have to. This is one of those things though, where we were saying a minute ago, you can only affect so much. We can't change government policy. We can't just go and knock and say,
I'm a believer. Don't worry what you can't influence. So just. It is crack on.
The rules of the game have changed, and this is something again that I always look at, because what was working maybe 2 years ago doesn't necessarily work as well as it did today, and you have to constantly change what you're doing to meet the new rules of the game that are.
Do you get to spend how operational are you? Do you get to spend much time like classic working on the business, or are you in the business? In the business,
I spend not enough time
on
by
it.
far analysing. Looking, assessing.
How many staff have you got today?
Mid-20s.
So it's a pretty big operation. Yeah. Is it just you?
I'm the sole owner of the business. My dad's a director. My mum's, I think she might be the secretary. That's the one. Yeah, I don't know why I did that.
Typewriter.
Are we typing? Is someone drying their nails? Are they giving their pet snake a massage? I don't know, but no. So yeah, and then I've got. I've got 10 people, I think, at the workshop, sales, drivers, we've got painters, we've got...
Out of those 20, are any of them management helping you with the higher
absolutely.
End as well?
Absolutely. I've got a really good general manager who's spent the vast majority of this year trying to change our workshop, and trying to make it efficient and run properly. Our workshop's been extremely inefficient and wasteful and probably not really fit for what we do for a long time. However... when your business is making strong profits,
you don't worry about it.
You don't worry about it. There's no need to. And then in October, November, December time, that's when suddenly
you start
it got
looking.
tougher. It's like, right, look at the prep line. It's huge. What can we do about it? Why is it so big? Why are we selling so many cars and then spending so much money to get them out and then ending up selling 150 cars, and then at the end you're kind of left with like that, and you're thinking. So prep has been a priority.
Do you look at from the prep point of view, technician efficiencies, as in how well organised is that, or is it kind of like there's a car, do it, there's your next one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's difficult because I've never been involved in workshops in my entire career. You know, if you look 2000, started at car supermarket, moved to another car supermarket, 2003 to main dealer selling used cars specifically. From there,
is it all you've done?
Yeah, pretty much. And then to a business manager role in a dealership, to then sales manager role, you know, to 2010 to then go and set up my own business. I've never been involved in the workshop at all. Mechanically, I know nothing about cars. You pop a bonnet with a customer like, oh, well, there's an issue with it there. You can clearly see it. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm looking at, but I'll take your word for it. But understand that we've got mechanics, they're really good, and they'll make sure if there's something that's not right, it'll be done. Well, what do you mean you don't know what's right? I said, I don't. And customers sometimes looking at me like, you
should know.
Who is this idiot? But it's not. I have. It's not that I don't have any interest in it. Clearly, I do. So I run a car dealership that sells cars, and cars need preparing. But I have no mechanical knowledge.
So when you started Car Quay,
yes,
that was just you. Was that the limited company you started to pay back?
I set this business up. Well, I set the business up in my parents' name because what I didn't want was people crawling out of the woodwork and putting a claim on things and coming after the new business. So the business was set up in my parents' name, and it was literally me, my mum, and my dad.
Yeah.
And moved onto the site in January 2017. It was an old building yard, but got on really well with the landlords. And straight away, we put a brand new roller shutter on, an electric one, because the old one was broken. I put kitchen in, just put a little office in. And suddenly they were like, look, we're going to clad the inside. We were going to clad it halfway. And then they were like, no, we'll clad it all the way to the bottom. And then like, you know what? Because it's their unit. They were like, we're going to clad the outside. And suddenly it looks
really
like a newish
smart.
unit. It's not. It's a very old unit, but it's just clad on the inside and the outside. And it actually looks like a new building.
Yeah, it really does.
Really good relationship. We put the mezzanine in. I mean, again, we put the mezz in as we were growing because we had nowhere to sit. We had one little office. Put the mezzanine in kind of November, December 2019. So you can imagine as that's being pieced together in January, February, and suddenly the winds of change are happening in the world, and you're suddenly thinking, my God, what have I done? Yeah. Because I've invested so much money in it, and now we're shutting. We can even have a business, you know, as the pandemic ends. But yeah, we had the greatest 3 years we could have ever.
So you must have been rattling around. How big is it? What's 5,000 square foot?
I mean, again, I have no idea.
It's pretty big. So you must have been rattling around in there on your own.
Yeah, I mean, initially there was 15, 20 cars in there. You can get 45 cars inside the unit, like outside. We've took more space on from the landlords, obviously, as the business has grown, but got to a point where we just kept growing and growing and growing in the pandemic. Felt we didn't want to leave any money on the table, and it was so busy. So just kept buying and buying and buying. But everything that the business made has just gone back into stock, and that still remains true to today.
Have you done anything other than AutoTrader to get that growth to scale?
I mean, we also advertise on Car Gurus. We advertise on eBay Motors, and do I own anything else?
But you've done nothing to locally kind of grow your presence at all, or it's just all been online?
No. Do you believe in local brand in vehicle sales?
So I think when I opened the business, there was some stink attached to me because of the previous business, so I did it very under the radar.
Yeah,
I didn't want to draw attention to it. I put a picture, I think, talked about this on a previous podcast. I thought, I'm not going to have a Facebook page, but I'll be on Twitter. And I'll maybe go on Instagram at some point, and I just put a post up just of the new sign going up, and straight away someone jumped on it and went, "Are you going to rip loads of people off?"
Did you have people coming after you then from the previous?
Not coming after me, but someone with some quite negative comments, and it hurt me because despite everything, I operated honestly and openly, and I had the best intentions for not just the staff but for the customers. Even as I left that business. And I did, and there was work going on in the background that I was involved with, even though 3 months previously I'd left the business because the person running the business wasn't capable of even turning up, I don't know, to meetings and stuff. So I was involved with creditors or administrators trying to make sure that the staff got paid and everything like this, even though it had been done. And I never, and will never, publicly probably explain exactly what happened because I don't necessarily.
No, and you don't need to. But I understand what you're saying. Your intentions were good.
Yeah,
which sometimes isn't good enough for the people on the receiving
people
end.
who don't know. Yeah. But there's people who don't know, and you know, and it hurt me a little bit. So I just did it all under the radar a little bit. I just kept my head down. I mean, it's remarkable. A guy turned up on site the other day who was an ex-employee, and he chatted to one of my team. He didn't know I was involved, and he was like, "Oh, you know, obviously Jamie's not done anything since since the other business went belly up. Because he had no idea that business was which kind of made me smile a little bit. But then again, he's clearly spent time with other parties who've maybe rewritten history and said certain things happen. But
people like bad news, don't they? In this country,
they do, of course they do. They don't want to see success. They don't. And
I was saying this to someone the other week. A business puts on Facebook that they're closing down, and it gets the most comments and shares and everything, yet you put something good and it's just like forgot about that.
There's a donut shop in Nottingham.
Project D.
Donuts.
I'm not going to mention the name. Might be
not Project D.
No.
They've just gone. I don't know if you're
this one in Nottingham. It's a. I mean, we've been.
Yeah.
They sell donuts. They're nice.
Yeah.
Not particularly good for you. One of the local newspapers did a clickbait title, "Shop closing down." Everyone jumps on this post like, good, they were a load of shit anyway, blah, blah. And everyone's like, well, if you read the article, they're just moving. Like, they're not closing down. And I just thought, how devastating for that business. That a load of twats jump on why would you want to see a failure in a business that sells donuts?
And they don't even read the article. That's the worst thing. Like, I always knew they'd shut down. Well, hold on, they're not shutting down.
That's what it was like.
It's like you say, people, look, you know, going into business isn't easy. It's difficult. It's not for everybody. And I think that people, I don't use the word jealousy, but, you know, they don't want to see people succeed. And maybe
that podcast you sent me yesterday, they speak about the perception of business in the UK compared to the perception of business in America. And in America, it's all like, go for it, like wishing success.
Yes.
And in the UK, it's not necessarily like that.
I think that's one problem is why I remember this. You can't. Who do you ask? Because when you starting a business, you're not surrounded by business people, and if you ask your friends and family, it's always like, oh, I'm not sure, don't know.
Yeah, you shouldn't do that.
You end up getting to a point where you don't listen to anyone, and then you get that complacency, and you know what I mean. That you just don't listen to anyone's advice then because you've had to ignore everyone to get where you are now.
And you know, people are inherently cautious, aren't they? That is the thing. And I've had.
Are you cautious or are you risk taker?
I'd say a risk taker. Although maybe as I'm getting older, a bit more risk averse. Maybe. But
I think they become more educated risks, don't they? The older you get.
You got family? Home?
Yeah, I mean,
that changes things a bit, doesn't it?
It does, but I think I've always had self-belief. So this is the thing: when my old business went belly up, you know, Christmas 2016, I've been served papers 2 weeks before. It's Christmas morning. I'm with my wife. We dropped Stepson off, Lucy's son off, his dad, and my mum and dad were there, and me and Lucy were there, and they were all just devastated because 2 weeks previously we've been served. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? Parents' retirement fund has been swallowed up, and they were all
sounds
worried.
like you got pretty supportive parents.
Yeah, very lucky in many respects because again they lent me their last 30 grand to go again.
Did they?
Do you know what I mean? You know, they're
fair play.
You know, so. But I remember they were all like, "What's going to happen? It's the end of the world. It's Christmas morning." And I'm like, look, it's fine.
Were you fine?
Yeah, I think so. But maybe it was autopilot. I don't know. But I wasn't deluding myself because I'll tell you this. November 2016, I sold 31 cars off my drive. Okay?
So the skill's there still.
I fucking know I can sell cars. So I believed I could deal my way out of the situation we were in because I don't know. At the time, I believed I was probably the best car salesman on the planet. I'm not. Do you know what I mean? But I had an unshakable belief that I would be able to sell enough cars to see right my parents and to deal out of the situation. I did, and I believed it. And as I say, 30 odd cars off my drive, man. I had cars parked in the pub car park down the road. The park, there's a car park there. I had cars on my mum and dad's drive. I had cars on my own drive. Although I didn't want to have too many on my drive because it's quite a well-to-do village. And
That's the resilience, isn't it? And I think that's one of the traits of entrepreneurial business owners. Resilience is a huge trait, isn't it?
But as their worlds were collapsing, I was like, no, look, genuinely, I've got this. I feel more pressure now than I felt then, and this is bizarre because then I had to do it. It was a sink or swim, but I believed that I could do it, and I did it. Whereas now, when you are surrounded with such a larger business, responsibilities to your staff, now, if I'm honest with you, I feel more pressure now to continue because we're not as profitable as we've been in previous years at the minute because the job has got more difficult.
Yeah.
So
you're working harder for less return.
Yeah, I feel more pressure now than I felt then, which is bizarre, isn't it? Because at that point, I was going to lose. Don't get me wrong. Rewind 6 months while I was still in the business. That last year in the business was probably the worst year of my life. I'd be going to sleep not wanting to wake up, guys.
Really?
And which is, as in the words of my now wife, is you may as well be dead. Do you know what I mean? The only time I didn't feel stressed out was when I was asleep. And this is the bizarre thing. So the pressure, because I knew what was happening in that last year in the business and that fear and that knowing that you could lose everything here and feeling in many respects helpless to get out. How am I going to get out of this situation of auditors turning up? So again, if you deal with next year, auditors will turn up to come and make sure cars are on the site, and there's missing cars. And
so you're just waiting for D-Day, aren't you?
Yeah,
basically. So I'm guessing when all that stopped.
At the same time, there was a TV show being filmed as well.
Yeah,
so it was like.
I guess that was quite hard of you putting on this image in this front,
imposter, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely.
What's going on in the background.
Where I'm pretending to have a wonderful relationship.
And the thing is that is also business, isn't it? Yeah. In general, you have to you can't show everything that's going on in business. And no matter what stage of business you're in when you're growing, you're always going to have problems that you can't portray.
So when it did start to unfold, and I'm guessing you can remember the minute that you got to the bottom of the problem.
Yes.
And then the only way is up and out of it, which did you feel relief at that point? Almost. As bad as it sounds.
When I left, I felt massive relief.
Yeah.
But I knew.
It's a cloud hanging over.
I knew that,
So when those papers came in and you're right, this is as bad as it gets. Was there relief?
Although after that there was more that came. There was because in that last period when I was there, I attempted to get. So my parents at the time were significantly more in than what they lost. So I agreed with my business partner at the time that we would start paying my parents off. When the business went into receivership, or whatever it were, administration, it looked like on paper that the business was insolvent from March. So any funds that had been appropriated to my parents to repay them was treated that they were preferential creditors. Yeah. Therefore, so from the outside looking in, it could look like I was trying to rip a load of money out and run off, which I wasn't. This was my fucking mother's money.
Yeah, it was an actual loan.
Money.
Yeah.
But what happened was we had 2 attempts at it. There was another serve. We served more papers, 75 grand, and then there was another attempt for another 30. The 75 ended up costing 12, and the 30 cost about another 9. I'm very fortunate to have a friend who was very high up in a business that dealt with businesses going belly up, and they're extremely expensive. And then when the papers came, my friend said, look, just talk to Dave. Dave will do what he can do. They then constructed a letter to send to the administrators who were coming to me for the money. To just get a letter would cost thousands of pounds.
Yeah.
So I think the administrators saw who they perceived I'd paid to represent me.
And backed off a bit.
Well, they'd had a very high-profile case with this same administrator, I think 6 months previously, and the administrator got a real bloody nose, in the words of my guy. He said, so this is a roll of the dice. they may see it and think, fuck that, we don't want to go into battle here. Let's just get what we can get, and then let's just run off. Or they might have thought, they had us 6 months ago. We're having that again.
Yeah.
So it was a roll of the dice, and thankfully, because I don't know what I'd have done. I mean, again, in Manchester, in some high-rise building, talking to these high-flying, business people, and my mum's there in bits, just breaking down. Like, how after everything can now they be coming to me to try and take 75 grand off me when I'm 75 grand out of pocket anyway? You know what I mean?
Crazy,
and then I think 8 months later, they came back for some more, for another 25 for something else they'd found, and we did a deal for another 10. So, by the time I'd paid my parents back, BCA back, my legal fees, the fees relating to that business, some other people who'd put money in the business I wasn't aware of, you're probably talking £250,000.
Good job you're good at selling cars, eh?
But paid everybody back, and that's the nice thing. I mean, the only people who didn't, I mean, I'm trying to think if there was anyone who didn't get paid. There was a finance company who lost a little bit of money, but they were the first finance company who dealt with me. So they set up a commission structure that basically got themselves paid back over a period of a year or 2 years. But we needed to sell finance, and do you know what I mean? It was difficult at the time. I think AutoTrader I think were down. See, AutoTrader wouldn't let me have an AutoTrader account because they said, you owe us 30 grand. I said, well, I don't owe you 30 grand. I said, when I left the business at the end of August, the bills with you guys were settled. We're now in December. You're saying I owe you, you're owed 30 grand, but that wasn't my business. We don't care. We will not let you advertise on that platform until you've paid it. So I had to set my AutoTrader account up in a fake name, so hi AutoTrader. I love you really, and I understand why you did what you did. But yeah, so if you log into Dealer Portal, I'm James. A rep wanted to come and see us for a year and a half, and I just kept saying,
Did you put a different voice on when
it's ridiculous.
You do what you got to do. I mean,
and then in 2018, Bangers for Ben. We went on it. We'd say you guys I think deal with Ben as well. So Ben, Motor Trade Charity. There's a banger rally every year. 2018, I felt enough confidence at that point back in myself to actually bring myself back resurface. Yeah.
Was that quite important to you as well? Because you were so involved in it, and then you go into...
I felt I didn't want to hide anymore, man. I felt like, why am I having to hide? I've got nothing to be ashamed of here. Do you know what I mean? I've been in a business that's failed, man. But do you know what? I'm starting again. And I've paid people back, and I've at that time I was paying BCA, because I'll tell you the story again. When I finally paid BCA off, they offered me more stocking. I was like, fucking you wankers. But in a nice way. But I got a call from them. They said, we never thought you'd pay us off. We had a bet in the office. No one thought you'd pay. Yeah. And no one has, or it's very rare that we get our money back, and you have, and fair play to you. So well done, and if you want another stocking loan, we're ready.
Let's go again.
Jesus Christ. Like a drug dealer.
That drug dealer, yeah.
You get yourself clean. But no, it was it was it was a hard time, but we paid everyone back and got through it and built. And then, as I say, I'm on Bangers for Ben, and we've gone as Fast and the Furious. So we've turned a Celica into the green. Was it Mitsubishi in the films? And I've got the Rock mask on, even though the Rock wasn't in the first one. The Rock came in the later ones. Craig's Vin Diesel in. Oh, no, I might have had a different mask on. Anyway, the AutoTrader guys come over, and then I pull my mask off. They're like, Jamie, man, how are you? What are you doing? And, and they were genuinely really surprised.
Was it Scooby-Doo, where they pulled the mask off the villain?
But then they were like, well, we knew you were retrading. I was like, no, you fucking did. Do you know what I mean? But it was nice, and actually had some time with him. Because ultimately, look, they're a business, and they didn't get paid. And I get it.
Isn't it? Yeah.
The thing to do is never to take it personally. It's like with BCA. I took it really personally to start with. But there's nothing personal. They weren't coming to me for money because Jamie Caple's a dickhead. They were coming to me because as a business, they'd lent money to a business. That money hadn't been paid back, and they needed to recoup that money. And it was not about me. It was about a business transaction. And same with AutoTrader. So again, I don't ever... but for a while, I took it personally because I felt injustice. I felt it was unfair. You can bear in mind, I'm paying... I'm getting hit from all angles here. So
did you almost fit at the point like a bit of a victim sort of?
Yeah, I suppose I probably did. But then in time, like I said to you at the start, whose fault was it? My fault, because I allowed it to happen. And if I'd had a proper handle on the finances of the business and certain aspects of the business, what happened would never have happened. So I can only blame myself. I can't sit there and say, it's his fault, it's their fault, it's their fault. It's not. The buck stops with me.
And that whole experience is now, I mean, look where you are now. Pretty exceptional business. Looks like you've won pretty much every award that there is possible to win. Are the lessons from all of that experience, all of it, all gone into this new business?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
How did you go from you said you're up to about 25 staff.
Yes.
You're under more pressure now because you built up this great big business again, which was never intended.
Yeah.
How quickly did that must have happened pretty quick?
So we start 17. Got to October, November. My parents were going to Singapore. My mum spent some time in Singapore when she was a kid, so they wanted to go. Sorry, fucking hell, where was it? Where's the place near Thailand? Vietnam. They were going to Vietnam. They were going for 3 weeks. And as we were getting closer, that you know, one person running a site is impossible because you got to take cost to prep, you got to get it validated. You can't do it. Even with my mum and dad, it was really hard, you know. And they'd said to me, "Look, Jamie, we will give you 2 years. We will give you 2 years to get you back and running. So we are at your disposal for 2 years." And now it's 2024. my dad's still doing fuel runs. My mum helps do the books and stuff like that. But so I took a guy on Craig. Craig was in the opposing team in used car wars, so I knew him.
Oh, really?
Kept a relationship.
That's cool.
Yeah. We'd been for food a couple of times. Like when the show came out, we did a little watch party at his house and stuff like that. And because my relationship had broken down with my business partner, or my previous business partner, so kept the relationship. And then I just messaged him one day, or he messaged me, said any jobs, and then within hours.
So what was he, just an everybody, do every role?
He's a bit of everything, Craig.
Because I'm assuming now you've got departments, roles, individual responsibilities.
Yeah, kind of. You know, so you know.
You do that.
But no, yeah, and then he came on board, and then that's it. So as we ran to the pandemic, as we shut for the pandemic, I had Craig, Meg, me, my mum and dad, Andy, Howie, and one mechanic, I think.
So you were doing your own prep at this time?
I had started to, yes.
So you've grown massively since. So the COVID boom of the car sales, you've grown massively with that then?
Absolutely. Like, you know, we would, you know, you talk about labour rates. Labour rates have gone up, it seems almost exponentially over the last few years. But even pre-pandemic, you know, you were lucky if you were getting £40, £45 an hour labour. So, yeah, clearly the efficiency of bringing work in-house was but finding good mechanics is difficult.
Very tough. Yeah.
Well, by chance we found our first mechanic who you know had experience running workshops, perhaps not the most technically gifted mechanic, but had ran sites for nationwide chains. So in terms of that organisational sense,
he got it. Yeah.
And then we brought a couple of mechanics in from there, and then, you know, as the business grew, we moved them off site because on our physical site, there's no space, you know. So we've got a little paint booth, which used to be where the mechanics were. Got like a valet area, and then it's cars. And I've got a compound.
Are you doing just like smart repairs? Or do you actually do?
He does bits. I mean, he can do sides and stuff like that. I mean, major stuff, damaged stuff, will body shop. You know, there's only so much he can do there.
Do you still outsource a bit of mechanical as well?
Yes, but ideally not. You know, the whole point of ramping up our workshop is so that we are completely.
Was you getting that workshop? Was that like quite a gear change? Would you say that is quite a turning point in a vehicle sales operation?
So, I mean, absolutely. In terms of control. Because
I guess getting it in and getting it advertised is a big thing. Isn't it?
But you know, again, I think one of the issues that we have and we've always had is that we should prep stuff from day one. We are finally at a point where we now have enough bodies and space and capacity in the workshop to start having a transporter arrive with cars and them go to the workshop rather than go straight to be cleaned and straight to be photographed on the pitch. As I say, we cause a lot of our own problems. You know what I mean? I'm not going to say otherwise. So, but absolutely, to control your costs and to manage your expectations of your customer, if you are reliant on a third party, that third party garage is going to do what's best for them, not yourself. Your own workshop works for you. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I've got a problem. Okay, just drop the tools and fix that problem now. You can't just ring a garage down the line.
Yeah.
We need to get a ramp free. What do you mean?
We're customer calls back, the car just taken, like say, half hour later, and you ring the garage up, so yeah, we're looking next week for you. It's not going to work, is it?
But, in an industry where, let's be right, parts prices have gone up dramatically in the last 3 or 4 years. You've seen it, and you can't get them. Cars, I feel, are just not reliable. They're just not. Cars are becoming more and more complicated, more and more unreliable. So more than ever, it's key that we have control of our own preparation and that we can make a decision very quickly. Actually, Jamie, get rid of it.
What's your thought on selling electric cars now? I know they had their good times.
We've not really had,
and their bad times.
Yeah, well, we've not had great experiences. So pre-pandemic, Craig, he was a proper Elon Musk fanboy. So we went and bought brand new Model 3 Performance in September 19. Blown away by it. We said we're just going to try and push some EVs. We bought quite a few Leafs, did all right with some Nissan Leafs. Never seemed to get the margin in them though. But prep costs, I suppose, proportionally weren't. You had to do an air filter and a. Although again, at the time we weren't. We would send them to Nissan, so we were still paying 150 quid for in essence of a flipping pollen filter and a brake degrease or grease or brakes or something like that. But they weren't the fastest sellers. But we thought, you know what, we'll carve a niche out. We will become this dealer that's known for actually having an EV section. We even had a modified version of our logo that had a plug like hanging off it with green instead of the blue, and then there was going to be a section in the showroom where there'd be maybe a dozen, 15 EVs and a charge point, so that we'd be future-proofed. You know, that was the plan. So we'd be ready when things changed. During the pandemic, as you came out of the first lockdown, used values started to go up and go up quite dramatically. EVs particularly seemed to accelerate in trade price. So I was always open to selling them, but again, I have this amount of money I like to put across every car, and we just couldn't achieve it with the EVs, and they just became more and more and more expensive. If you're having to pay 10 to sell something for 11 and a half, I just don't see the point. There's not enough. There's not, no. If you can pay something for 10 and sell it for 13, well, why are you going to pay 10 for something to sell it for 11 and a half? So then we kind of pulled away a bit from EVs. We had the odd Tesla that we did all right with, but again, I remember one time we had a Tesla just locked itself. Guys on a train to come and pick it up. It's 6:30. So what are we doing? We're on the phone to Tesla, and you're getting bounced from Amsterdam to. Have you ever tried ringing Tesla?
It's on the app, isn't it? Normally on your phone.
Then you're like, well, we need someone to remotely open this car, and eventually, after 45 minutes on the phone, like the lights flashed in the show. Come on! Like, went and got the key out, and the guy's there, and he got in it and fucking drove it home. And he took it. But we've had issues with electric batteries on C classes, like C350Es.
I think hybrids are going to be the worst thing because
both worlds
to worry about.
Yeah. So there's those. I've been forced to buy back a Tesla Model X the other day because one of the doors allegedly went down on the guy's wife's head. It's a 28,000 quid car. I've had Leafs with range of 55 miles with customers then trying to back them because they're saying, well, the advert says it's 140 miles range. And I've just lost.
Have you stopped selling them for now?
If one came in part exchange,
you got some good margin.
And it's right, fine. Yeah. But I am not out there actively looking to buy EVs.
Do you have a fuel type preference?
We tend to sell prestige German diesel stuff. That really, I think, is the majority of the stuff we sell. So 3 Series, 5 Series, some 7 Series, C class, E class, the odd S class. A4s, A5s, A6s. And
A7s, is that intentional? Have you just slowly crept towards where the margin works for you?
So I think the combination of factors, if you look back at what we used to sell in my previous business, is very much the same. It was affordable, aspirational cars, I suppose, is the way of I say it. So a car that might have been 40 grand new that you can get into for 10 grand. So you feel like $1 million in it, but it's 9 years old. It's done 80, 90, 100,000 miles. That type of stuff, I feel, sells quickly enough. We never seem to do particularly well with volume cars. Now, I don't know if that's because I try to put too much margin across them, because I'm always
You're
trying
talking
to
about
chase
like your Focus,
yeah, Astras, Focus. I've got the odd one, don't get me wrong, but you know, Corsas and Fiestas and stuff like that, and Micras and I'm trying to think, you know, Citroen C1s and Peugeot 188 or 207s. It's never really been what we've sold well, and there are garages that I'm sure do really well selling that type of stuff.
I've noticed you mentioned like some higher mileage stuff, so 80, 90,000 miles doesn't put you off.
110, 120. I mean, I used to put stuff on at 130, 140. Since we've changed the workshop this year and brought some more experienced mechanics in and diaggers and stuff, they have just said to me, look, Jamie, you know, you need to really shy away from some of these cars that you're buying, because when you actually see what we're spending on them, because I don't assign prep to an individual car on my books. I have a prep bill every month. Do you see what I mean?
Right.
So I don't buy a car for 10, spend 500 quid on it, and that car is on the books at 10 and a half. It's not. I have a prep bill every month.
Is that because technically you can't? Because that's pretty useful information.
I think, again, as I explained to you, I suppose earlier, is that because we've been so profitable over a period of time, it just didn't matter. It's just funny, like, well, it's mad, because you're just making, you know, I sound like we're making that much money, but you know, we did well. So there's no requirement.
You're making enough not to turn over every rock. Do you know what I mean?
No, absolutely not.
And then periods you focus time on the bit that's going well, the sales.
Yeah.
You focus time there to sell more.
It terrifies me. I mean, some of the things that I've discovered since are just like, we had
some of the prep stuff on?
Yeah, there was a Passat that we sold that had a keyless key. It only came with one. So we had to order them a key from VDub, and I remember this saga just seemed to go on and on and on and on. And eventually we ended up giving the customer 400 quid just to sort his own key out. 2 months ago, fucking come to the workshop, one of the drawers.
Keys in there?
No. 3. For the same
car. So the key didn't work on the one?
No, they've just been fucking ordered and then just not. I don't know what. It's 1,000 quid's worth of keys for that one car. Ordered from main dealer, stuffed in the back of a fucking drawer, man. £1,000.
It's terrible,
it's just
isn't it?
One example, but
enough to ruin your day.
But you know, it is what it is. But again, bought during times where we were creaming it, so you've not noticed it. Do you know what I mean? But I think I didn't invest enough time, effort, or energy in the workshop. So in some respects, the previous outgoing workshop manager, I would say, because I had no experience of it, and because we were making lots of money, that it was just left to its own devices. And you know,
how many technicians you got now?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think.
Yeah. Wow.
8.
Yeah, it's a big
and
garage.
One manager.
8, and yes, but again, one of the mechanics
helps out.
Yes.
Have you got an MOT lane?
No.
And
I'm quite happy not to have one. So where our workshop is, it's on a farm site. So it's just off a main road, but it's not what I would say public fate. You wouldn't want retail customers going in and out because this lane gets.
Have you ever been tempted to go retail?
No. Tempted to get an MOT lane at some point, but again, customers, I feel if we don't MOT our own cars,
less questions asked. Yeah.
Customer can never accuse us of passing.
Do you have an agreement with? So one of a bit of a point of contention is advisories on MOTs for vehicle sales vehicles.
So we pre-prep a vehicle before it goes to MOT. I've got lads who are ex-MOT testers, so they're looking for things that are going to fail or advise, and then we do them. So it's very rare that a car will go and then they'll advise something. Occasionally, maybe 1 in 15 or 20, and we'll be annoyed. Why have you advised that?
Yeah.
I need to, because it's all right, fine. You know, actually fair.
So you'll prep cars up to a advised standard.
An advisory-free standard.
That's that's pretty good.
Yeah, but again, you know, I suppose every MOT tester has different.
Well, this is the thing. They're working for themselves when they're doing that test. They're working to their own regulations, aren't they? Which
But we have a good relationship. We've had them ring us and say, I'm going to have to advise a tyre. And we're like, well, don't. We'll send a tyre up. We'll send a tyre up and just stick it on for us, you know. Because in many respects, it's in their interest to find fault with your car because it gives them work. Yeah. But predominantly, they know we want to do the work ourselves. So there's the odd time we'll send something, or do you want to abort the MOT so it's not got a fail on it or something? We'll have it back. We'll do it. We'll
it's just a shit stain on the history, isn't it?
It is. And customers now are very they'll find any reason to freak out or stuff like that.
So you've got your prep function. So just going through these functions practically for someone who might be running a dealership or want to run a dealership. Yes. So you've got your prep function, which is a big function, and probably the one that people bolt on last, I guess. You've got your sales function. You self-proclaimed best salesman in the world.
Fucking not, but you know what I mean. Trying to get my parents and my wife through Christmas. Do you know what I mean? When I just, you know, they had to believe that I was the single greatest car salesperson on the planet.
Do you think that how important is that the charisma of the salesperson in a modern day dealership?
Less important than it's been historically, but still important.
Which bits are important?
Calling the customer back.
Well, there is that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a massive thing. Having a relationship with him. And as we've moved to a more delivery-based model, where lots of customers want cars delivering now, the trust that you can build with somebody while meeting them face-to-face isn't there when it's a remote delivery. So you have to try and build trust and confidence so that if they have a problem, they don't go into meltdown mode. And unfortunately, it happens. Yeah, if I'd spent an hour or some of my team had spent an hour or 2 hours with that customer on
building the goodwill,
if they had a problem, it wouldn't be a problem. But they panic. We delivered a...
what for bought? Who were they?
We delivered a Zafira to near Cornwall the other day. 14 plate Zafira. And there was... it got there and then it lost its coolant. But there was literally a coolant bottle. There's like a little perish in it. But she took it to a garage friend, the friend. Do you know what I mean? Who then? Well, it was on delivery. We got there and they were like, and they said because she's like, I'm just having my friend look at it before I pay for it. You know, because we take a deposit, but we'll get them to pay once it's there. And this garage guy was like, well, have you done a cam belt? And we're like, well, no, because we've not agreed to do a cam belt. It's not when it's not listed with cam belt. Well, I won't be buying it unless you've done a cam belt. And you're suddenly on this. So what do we have to do? I have to chip, or we had to pay for a kit. We'll pay for the kit. You know,
but they've got you by the balls at the minute, aren't they? How much does that cost you to ship a car down
there?
Well,
the delivery costs like 400 quid or something like that. Yeah. But worse, she lost some coolant. She went back to this friend garage, and he said, "Oh, this is I'd reject the car. You just want to reject the car." So it's not your fucking business, buddy. But we seem to find this now more than ever, is that customers will go to have a car looked at a garage, and I'm not saying you guys do it, but the amount of times a customer has said to me, yeah, I spoke to a local garage and they've told me if it's the first month I should just reject the car to you. And I want to pick the phone up to these garages and say, listen, we're on the same team here, lads. You know, what are you doing? Yeah, she's got a problem. And now maybe that's born out of the fact that garages won't deal with these issues remotely. Whereas we do. I throw money to keep cars sweet and keep customers happy. So again, but because they don't know us and we don't have a relationship, maybe that's why a lot of these customers are getting this advice. Just return it, just back it. You're legally allowed to. And this is one of the reasons why I think the job has got more difficult, because it's not a bad thing for customers to be educated about the rules and the laws and everything like that, and we operate and act within the law. But I don't think the Consumer Rights Act is particularly fit for purpose for our industry anymore. Where
it's very harsh.
Well, if you think a customer can have a car for 5 months and 29 days, and let's say their battery failed or they had a fault, so you have that car in and you fix it. There's normally the first fix, isn't it? And if the first fix doesn't work, there might be a more complicated second fix. Yeah. So you do the first fix, you send them on the way. That car faults again. Legally, they can back the car.
The whole thing, yeah.
But that, you know, it's not... And this equally is the problem with cars seemingly becoming inherently more unreliable, whether that's true or not. You know, the emissions devices, EGR valves and DPFs and all those things.
That's why I asked about fuel preference, because modern diesels are surrounded in emissions-related issues.
I know.
I remember we sold an Astra and something happened to the engine, and it was like up to 6 months. It might have been slightly over. Yeah. And we was like, and he'd done quite a lot of miles in it as well. Yeah. And we was like, we'd be fine with this one. And got someone to look at it, and because it had missed a service like 3 years before, they said, well, it could have stemmed from not having the oil change in that year. So literally, it was like onto us.
Yeah, it's. I once had a Peugeot that the engine went on, and it was quite a late plate Peugeot. It was one of those 1.2 engines, which are just the worst engines, aren't they? They're like as bad as Ingenium engines. And the engine went. So this was mid-pandemic. So I had a relationship with a Peugeot dealer. I'm not going to point fingers, and they were very helpful. They said, look, you might want to complain to Peugeot head office, might get something done. So I rang as a retail punter, didn't tell them who I was, and they initially rejected because the car had this is the thing, the car had full Peugeot service history. The second service was done by Arnold Clark, and Arnold Clark were a main dealer Peugeot. They'd used the wrong oil. So Peugeot tried to reject my claim. And again, I did my Oscar performance, like, look, this is my wife is ill. Because it's a £6,000 engine or something. And I said, how can you? This has been serviced by one of your retailers.
Yeah.
They've used the wrong oil on 20,000 mile service, and you now that's my fault that you're. And ended up doing it. They created an engine over.
It's a very fair question, isn't it?
Yeah, it's one of your approved service outlets has used the wrong oil, and you're using that as a justification.
Do you do your own warranty, or do you sell?
So historically, we used to have a company do it. We've internalised it now, so we give 3 months for free. If the customer has a problem, they ring us.
That's not even getting it administered elsewhere. You're just doing it all.
We did have it administered elsewhere, but still paying a lot of money. If you think
we spoke about this, you get someone else, you do these external warranties, but you still end up doing a lot of goodwill stuff anyway. Because they ring you.
They're on about administers and you pay 20 quid for a booklet.
I
see what you mean. Right.
But so there was an admin for the 3 months, and then we'd outsource it. But you are exactly right. You would sell these external warranties, and then you just end up paying for half the claims anyway.
Yeah.
And we explained this to the warranty company we were using at the time, and we said, look, we're going to go self-warranty. You're making a massive mistake. You have no idea what we do in the background.
The thing is, the warranty companies want to make profit on your spend of them anyway, don't they? If you get to the point where your burden rate's too high,
it for free, are they?
Well, if you're giving them 10 grand a month, if they pay out more than 6 or 7 grand in claims, they ain't got a business.
Yeah.
So my logic was, well, if I'm going to pay 10 grand, I'd rather pay 10 grand's worth of claims with the 10 grand than pay 7 grand's worth of claims with my 10 grand.
Do you sell extended warranty?
We do, and again.
What,
we're
like 6
probably
months, 12 months?
Just 12. Just 12. 2 different claim limits. We're too soft though on it, because if someone's bought a warranty, we'll just pretty much cover issues. And if you look at what we charge out, it's either 395 or 495. We're too cheap.
That's probably easy because you've got your own workshop now. You can go, we'll just do it anyway.
True.
Yeah, but I imagine if that one breaks down in Cornwall, you're not shipping it back, are you?
So you are, we say to customers we reserve the right to have it back, but normally we would just deal with a local garage as long as they've quoted you a reasonable price.
Have you got a bit of a network, or
we've got some garages, but I think there's certainly an angle for a network of dealers to.
Are you in the IMDA?
No. And I think they've got I know Umesh.
Yeah.
He's a pal, a long time motor trade colleague. Should I say he's a pal? We don't go out drinking or eating. I know every month he goes for food with a few motor traders.
He came to see me a few years ago. Yeah.
But he's but by and large we tend to do it. Our after sales manager's a mechanic who was one of our mechanics, and he isn't mechanicking now. That's helped in many respects. Of a customer rings with a problem, straight away he's dealing with somebody who fixes cars. Oh, don't worry about that. We see that quite regularly. Normally on a Focus, it'll be the fuel pump that's making that noise, and it'll need this bearing replaced. Well, I don't know. Again, I'm no mechanic, so I'm probably just talking junk there. But he has an understanding. And when you're talking to a customer who's panicking about an engine light coming on, having someone to say, "Look, we've seen this before. Don't worry about it. We'll get it in." And then it goes to a local garage, and then the garage says something, and then he's like, "Well, yeah, we kind of thought that, but they want to charge £500 for the part and 400 quid to fit it." Part's 250 quid, and it's 3 hours labour. So look, if we were doing it here, it would cost 400 quid. Your garage want 900 quid for the job. You can bring it back, we'll do it. Or if you want me to make a contribution towards your garage, do you know? And so we have there's a little bit of negotiation and stuff.
Okay, yeah.
But with labour rates being like they are now, and what you guys charge, which is more than reasonable based on the amount of investment and the amount of time and skill that's required to fix these cars. I always joke about if a customer took a car pre-pandemic and they had a problem and it went to a garage, it was 250 was just for a simple problem, it was 250 quid. That very soon became 500 quid. Do you know what I mean? And now it seems if a customer it's best part of 1,000 quid, regardless of what they go for. because they'll find other bits. This is the problem, you know. So, oh well, I went with my engine light, and they've said that 2 of the suspension arms, you know, need doing, and there's some warped, you know, some bushes of delaminate or whatever, and they think it should have had a brake fluid change its last service. So there's
quite challenging for you, that is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because sitting on the other side of the fence, yes, the average labour rate is minimum £75 an hour now, and garages will do vehicle health checks as just standard.
Yeah. Free health check. I always say to a customer, there's nothing free about a free health check. Certainly not for us.
But from our perspective, we are absolutely trying to get cars into the garage. And if we identify that there is a fault with the car, then we, of course, will tell the customer. But from a vehicle sales dealership perspective, that's a problem.
And there is an element of liability there. To, you know, that's the kind of one of the cars that's played. And it is true, you know, something comes into you and then you don't spot a tyre with a nail in it or a broken coil spring, it goes down the road. As a professional, it's like you've seen that car.
It's duty of care, isn't it?
I get it. And you know, we're all having to make money. And like you say, when a car comes into your workshop, it's like somebody walking into a shop, isn't it? And you ultimately are there to try and sell them as many things as possible. I mean, it's normal. So, you know, but it is very frustrating because, you know, we believe we do the job right, but, you know, so some of the reports that we see back sometimes are
trying it on.
Are unbelievably.
But also, I remember that's
already, and the trust's gone at that point.
This is the problem.
The customer trusts the garage because I've dealt with them for years and they always look after me. And I've been paying £500 a year for a service with this garage for the last 10 years. Oh, and you trust them. You know what I mean? It's like they've been having your pants down. Sorry to say it. You know, so you've been going to this garage and you trust. You've spent enough money with them that now you trust them over us. But look, you know, we don't blag, we don't lie, we prepare our cars to a standard. I think doing an oil service and an advisory free MOT on every car and making sure everything that's on it works is absolutely more than enough, I believe, preparation for a used vehicle.
No one's wrong in this. It's just it's a used vehicle. You know, the garage is right in saying you know, these things could be done.
Yeah.
Because there are different standards. There are, obviously, everyone knows that MOT is
a service standard. Like
there's a service standard.
There's that. It's something along the lines of if you think a car at the dealership's 100%.
Yes.
An MOT pass is about 30%. Service standard is about 80%.
Yeah.
So when the garage is operating around here, and getting a car off the forecourt is perhaps 40-50%, then you can understand where that disparity comes in.
And you'll have seen all the different standard. You can take. I always say you can take one car to 5 different MOT garages and get 5 different results.
Absolutely.
It shouldn't be
going
like that,
though. It will happen.
Because I did a train tech as a different mindset to someone that started from the backstreet garage.
There's 3 workshops that we have MOTs done. Predominantly, most are done at one now. But I could tell you now that track rod end, is it? Like every time. Brake pipes. Yeah. Brake pipes. Don't say, they greased. Ah, what a surprise. You've put greased brake pipes on the advisor. It's the same garage or under What? Why are you having to write this under trace?
Yeah, that's bollocks.
Well, no, but that is a standard advisor, isn't it?
I know,
well, it is. But I've had people where that's put someone off buying a car, and you're trying to say to them, no, and straight away, oh no, because they don't trust us. They don't trust us.
Yeah, but your reputation, like you, I say I mean, we both sell cars as well.
Yes.
Used car dealers have a bad reputation, just like garages do.
They do, and I think it's, you know, I mean, it's 2024, man. I mean, honestly, like now, it's in such a transparent world that
go read the reviews.
Yeah, and more than likely, you know, garages aren't trying to rip you off.
Yeah.
We're just trying to sell an item and make a profit on it and run a business. And if you have a problem, is fix it fairly. Do you know what I mean?
That being said, 99% of transactions are good, aren't they? You will get the warranty issue, but most of the time, customers do trust you.
Yeah.
And you do the right thing. They're happy.
But I think more now. So we're doing more. We do quite a lot of vehicles through third-party finance companies. Your Zutos, your 247s, your Match Me Car Finance.
Are these customers getting their own finance and coming to you?
Yeah, but they don't even get their own. They don't even come to us. They go on
AutoTrader.
No, they go on the site of the funder, get finance approved, and then that funder will have its own site with vehicles at its approved garages, or like you'll have somebody at one of those places will be like, well, I deal with Car Quay a lot. Those deals normally happen. So the customer will be approved for like say $9,000 or $10,000. What do you want? And then some of their reps will be like, right, got a deal here for, I've got a car for you. So they're almost putting the customers sometimes in our cars. The first time we meet that customer, they're picking it up. So you've not had, because they don't give us their phone numbers or their email addresses, because we will then step in, they believe, and sell them our finance.
Yeah. And if you do that, then they blacklist you then as well.
But some of those companies, you are the rate of interest is very high. You can tell without being a snob that customer has probably not really got a lot of money.
Not been approved elsewhere.
They're coming in. Oh, there's no fuel in it. Oh, can you put a tenner in? Because I've not got any money until payday, which is in 2 weeks. And you're thinking to yourself, you're picking up a BMW 5 Series here, and you've not got enough money to go and put fuel in it.
Not a good feeling, is it?
It's not. And then some of those customers, if they develop a problem, it's how can we get out of this? Because the novelty of having a new car rubs off very quickly. You know when you're getting a new car, this is amazing, this is brilliant. Then 2 months later, when those first payments are hitting, and some of them are paying £400 or £500 a month, which might be a quarter of what they earn to just drive around in a vehicle, then they have a little issue with it, and then it's like, what can I do to get out of this car as quickly as possible? And finance companies are becoming more and more and more wash their hands and just farm it straight back to the dealer.
They don't want to know, do they?
And I am starting to question at some point, or then maybe it's just because I'm finding the job a little bit more difficult at the minute, because we're not probably selling as many cars as I would really like us to sell, or as profitable. We are still profitable, but just not as much as I really like. Okay, so I have to remember that and not get too down about things at times, because we're running a business and we own our stock and we make profit. Do you know what I mean? So it's not all doom and gloom. But I just find that lack of ownership, finance companies want to throw cars back at us as dealers, that you start to question, at what point, and the Consumer Rights Act is
feels like a one-way street, doesn't it?
Yeah. When does it become?
What percentage of cars are you putting out on finance?
Probably, including the brokers, probably 40%.
Okay. And is that what you're happy with?
I would like us to sell more finance, because ultimately we don't earn anything off those broker deals.
Yeah.
And actually
how many cars?
They cost us.
Yeah, because they're chipping down, I guess.
Well, no, they take an admin fee. They take an admin fee.
So how many cars are you selling on finance?
15%.
15%.
It's not enough. It's not enough at all.
But so going back to the sales function, is this where they can influence that? Do you see certain people are better at selling finance than other people?
We don't, and again, this all kind of reverts back to how good things have been. When we were making lots of profit during the 3 years of the pandemic, and 3.5 years of the pandemic,
the finance conversion didn't really matter.
It just, we're making loads of money. It doesn't matter if we've sold 1 or 50 warranties. Not matter if we've converted loads of finance customers. So we would end up, we would sell finance to the customers who came in and said, I want finance.
Who wanted it. You're not
rather than sitting and having a really structured
What about
process.
warranty? Did you
Same with warranty.
If they asked, you sold it?
Kind of, yeah. Now, we've it's very difficult, because you know the way rules are and stuff is financially incentivizing people to sell finance is really now frowned upon. Do you know what I mean? So you have to be careful with how you incentivize your sales team too. So we just don't. We just give them a nice big happy salary. Do you know what I mean? And the odd perk, and a bit of a bonus for a review. So that is how we operate. I've got
which I guess is against the industry norm, isn't it? Because normally it's quite.
But because I'm there and I've got good drivers and I've got the right people,
you can see
they're self-starters. They don't sit around. Like, normally the whole commission thing is based on, well, it gets the salesman off his chair and gets him to go and actually sell a car.
You're making off the chair. You're making sure they're off the chair anyway.
Do you have quite a good process from inquiry through to sale?
I mean,
how important is that sales function?
Well, obviously, without sales, we don't have a business.
Yeah,
so for me, as much as the workshop is absolutely probably more important now, without sales, you ain't even got a business. So we get quite a lot of emails come through. Processes, we ring them. If they don't answer, we'll email them. We'll WhatsApp.
Are these AutoTrader inquiries typically?
Not just AutoTrader, a lot through the website, and then if the phone rings, we just talk to them and try and deal them. Our process is a little bit different to a lot of dealers. We go for a deposit. We always just go for a deposit. We almost get a deposit for someone to want to view it. So if somebody rang today on a car and said, I'm coming Thursday, is it still available? Great, I'll see you at 3 o'clock. Where are you coming from? I'm coming from Leeds. right, I tell you what, let me give you a bit of advice. You know, if you're specifically coming to see that car tomorrow afternoon and you're making a plan, this is what I would advise.
Is this to improve conversion? You feel like if they commit a bit, sort of foot's in the door?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's your chances of selling someone a car who you've taken a deposit off versus someone you haven't, I would say, is significantly higher.
Okay.
So once you've taken a deposit off a customer, even though it's refundable, mentally
shows intent, doesn't it, as well?
Bought a car. Yeah. Or some of them are starting, I'm going to see my new car on Friday. Well, you ain't even seen it. But
Yeah.
And suddenly, so again, off the back of that, our cancellation rate is quite high because we get a deposit really for off some people who are maybe not really that committed. But when you when you say to them, look, the logic of you're going to do a 2 hour drive tomorrow, understand if anybody goes on my website, even during your journey, and clicks the reserve tab and puts their card details in,
It's gone.
I'll be ringing you to say turn around and don't bother coming. But you know I'm coming, I know, but we can't just hold cars off sale on a commitment that the customer says they're coming to see.
True, isn't it?
Because the amount of times we've done that and then they just don't turn up.
Yeah,
So we just say, just in essence, look, all you're doing is, in essence then, folks, is lending us £100 for 24 hours. Yeah. But it's enough commitment for us to remove it off AutoTrader. If anyone turns up, they're not allowed to buy it. And if you come and you want it, great. And if you come and you don't want it, I'll refund it while you're here. What have you got to lose? Some people still won't do it. And those ones, and when they travel, and then you take an order on a car before they get there, I know it's not nice, but you just want to go, fuck you, I told you. Do you know what I mean? But you don't, because it's annoying.
Sell that one because someone's coming tomorrow, they didn't deposit, get it sold today.
Yeah.
Sometimes we'll use that. So if someone's made an appointment the following day and they've not wanted to deposit, and then you take another call on it, you can say, listen, and this is how we work, you can reserve it, just so you understand. We've got a lady called Jane, she is coming from Leeds tomorrow afternoon on this car.
How many Janes have you had coming?
Classic estate agent tactic, isn't it?
We've
got a viewing tomorrow as well.
But I don't, if I'm sat with someone and I'm physically dealing them, and then I try not to say it. I really don't want to say it because it sounds so selly. Like it sounds like a lot. It's going to sound cliched, but I've got someone else interested in the car. I actually will only say it if they're leaving and they're not going to deposit. So, if I've dealt them, then I say to them, right, folks, just want to let you know, and I didn't want to tell you because I didn't want to pressure you, but somebody is coming at 2 o'clock.
But here comes the pressure.
No, because you've already dealt them at that point. Do you know what I mean? So I'll say to them, look, I didn't want to say this to you, but just so you understand, I'm really glad you've decided to reserve this car because...
Oh, I see, right.
So I'll say it after I've dealt them. I said, this isn't... And I didn't want to pressure you, but you've done the right thing reserving
You're playing
this.
the trust game now, aren't you?
But then it builds trust. And it does. And it's not bullshit. It's real. You are... Because, this is the thing as well. Trust is a massive thing.
Do you still enjoy that face? Do you still do that?
I do love selling. I love selling cars. I do. Don't get me wrong. I've got a team of people to do it.
That's what I mean. Do you do it intentionally, or do you just find yourself doing it?
No, if we're busy, man, like phones, I'll take a call. If I take a sales call, I am not passing that call over to one of the team.
You're doing it
unless I am buried and I cannot physically take it because I pick the call up. How you doing? What you're brilliant, nice to and then I just go through my own.
Do you still get a kick from it?
Yeah, absolutely. There's no better feeling than dealing. There's no better feeling than selling a car. Even today, I could get my result for the month and it could be a brilliant month and it's a nice feeling and you feel happy. But closing a customer, but you talk personality. So, really now the customer does the legwork online. The customer researches your business. So really, all it's your job to do is just not fuck it up when they get there. Because if the car's right, do you know what I mean? And they already know the price and the part X value is right and stuff. Really, the one thing that will cause that sale not to happen is the person, in many respects. So, I think because of that, I think that the job has got easier in some sense as a salesperson because you don't have to do what you used to have to do, which was qualify them, walk them around that forecourt, find them a car, put them into a car. Like, right, what are you after? 3-door, 5-door, petrol, diesel, manual, auto.
So, what makes a good modern salesperson?
Somebody who is organised, definitely organised. I'm fucking the most disorganised. Sorry, I'm swearing now.
So this is fundamentals. This is calling a customer back, doing what you'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. But being. Smiling. Yeah. Just be personable.
When I'm interviewing now, no matter what role it's like, if they smile, if they don't smile, it's kind of like a
big no-no. Yeah, smile. I mean, so I learned really early in the trade that I had to smile to people, because if you smile at someone, they smile back like you're starting to smile now, and you're smiling at me now because I'm smiling at you. So, and when people are smiling, they're happy, and when they're happy, it might find it easier to spend money. My password, in fact, I don't want to say it because it's still a password for something, but it was smile something and a series of digits, so that every time a customer sat at my desk, I had to log into a showroom system.
Typing in
smile, you. No, sorry. Oh no, sorry. You can edit that. Sorry, guys. No, it was smile punk, like 1, 2, 3. Do you know what I mean? So every time I sat with him, hi, Mr. Come and take a seat, and I'd type smile punk, and then I'd look up. I'd be like, do you mind if I just take your postcode? And you'd just see like them lift, and it was ridiculous. But honestly, I found that. I found using people's first names. Although I'm the worst. I am the worst person at remembering, like the worst. Leo and Alex.
That's it.
That's good for me, lads. That is good for me. Like, I had to just dig in there. I had to dig in. Well, I remembered your
it's James, isn't it?
Yeah. Message on. I remembered your name there just from seeing it visually on Messenger on Facebook this morning. You know, when you messaged me, and my
cool name.
My nephew's Leo. So that's how I just remembered it. But that was the other thing. As soon as you start using someone's first name, the barriers go down.
Yeah, it really does.
It's got to get a new salesman who set up their passwords, right? Your password is smile punk.
Yeah, smile punk. You know what I mean? Just smile. But I know it's only something small, but you know, my old man used to do stand-up comedy, and he was in a band for a while. And he did music, and what he would do is he'd do it, so like on a Friday night, he'd get in his car, he'd load all his gear up, and he'd be off to a working men's club in Leeds or Bradford, or he'd be in all over the country, just going and doing skeg, you know what I mean, doing gigs tonight. And I always saw he'd do a 45-minute spot, they called it, and then he'd do another. They might have bingo in the middle, and then he'd do another 45 minutes. And he had a performance, and so when I used to have a customer, I'd see salesmen doing deals in 3 or 4 minutes. That was never my thing. I would almost channel my inner dad. It's a bit weird because I never really used to go and see him perform, ever. Maybe one. Even when I was in a pub in Spondon, which is where we grew up, I'd just go in the back room when he was on stage because I was like 9 or 10 and I couldn't watch it. But yet when I sat with a customer, I would be like, right, this is my act now, my show. I've got this 45 minutes. And what I need to do in these 45 minutes are love these people up, win them over, make them laugh, build the trust, so that as I got towards the end of my set, I'd be able to justifiably ask for the business, take a deposit off them, and sign the order form. And they would leave feeling happy, they'd be laughing, because again, when someone's laughing and they're having fun, it's a lot easier to spend the money, unless, you know, there's nothing worse is they're going in a business or a shop, there's no one in there. And it's deathly quiet. Do you know what I mean? And you walk round and you feel awkward, don't you? And you can't get out of there quickly enough. Yet if I walk in a shop, how you doing, buddy? You okay? Yeah, I'm all right, thanks. What have you got? Look, I'm just having a look. You know, as people say, and then like, well, what are you looking for? And someone engages you, and then suddenly you're in, aren't you?
It's interesting that asking for the business. A lot of people don't even do that, do they?
No.
In the sales game.
And I think
they go for all that motion of all that time and won't ask for the business.
Like the tangible benefit of that show might be a sale, but the non-tangible benefit down the line is if there is an issue, if there's warranty, if they're looking, if the partner's looking, or the fact is like, oh yeah, let's go see Jamie.
Yeah.
Like,
he was full of shit.
But like they'll ring up and look, Jamie, I've got an engine light. Come on. Oh, is it Bill? Bill, are you ever going to stop moaning? You know, well, yeah, I've got a light. All right, well, it's only a light. Yeah, well, I know. You know what I mean? Because you've got that relationship. Like, well, is it driving right? Yes. Is it broke down? No. Right, brilliant. So, can't get you in this. Can you come Monday? Oh, would you have a car for me? Look, it's going to be a shitter, Bill. He's like, I'm not bothered. You know, because you got that relationship.
But the difference between that and the example you gave where the finance company sends you the lead to come and collect the car.
Yeah, you got no chance.
There's no relationship, man. There's there's nothing. And you have 5 minutes. I mean, those deals, you've normally been paid 3-4 days before the customer comes as well. So they often turn up. You turn up and it's like, there's your key and, all right, see ya. You know, and they're gone. The other thing, though, is I find a bit sneaky is that these finance broker companies are selling warranties to these customers. Oh, but then if the customer has an issue,
they ring
it's within the first 6 months, they're leaning on the customer to actually come to us.
They know the game.
So we give 3 months for free. Yeah, we're ultimately underwriting the first 6 months of a warranty that they're selling for 12 months. But again, these business models have sprung up. They're clearly working. They're clearly making lots of money.
They're bringing new leads as well, aren't they? You know,
I'm pretty sure we've got one who's feeding us a bit of work. Keeps seeing the name pop up.
But you know, you have to again change to the new rules of the game, and the new rules of the game is you can either embrace these people or you can try and reject them. It's like when AutoTrader brought price markers in. You can either resist it or you can actually think, well,
it's under every cloud, isn't it? Situation.
Yeah. Well, a lot of dealers are like, well, we're paying AutoTrader to basically tell our customers that our cars are too much money. But what the dealer doesn't understand is that the reason that consumer is going on that site in the first instance is because they feel the confidence to go on the site, because that site is giving them information to let them know they're not being overcharged or ripped off. So the dealer that moans is, well, that lead may never have happened if they didn't have those price markers on in the first instance, because that's given that
at the end of the day, if AutoTrader aren't looking out for the car buyer, the car buyers will just go somewhere else.
Absolutely. You know, and this is the thing, when the motor trade moans and says, we're AutoTrader's customers, do you know what? We're not. Actually, AutoTrader's customers are the people. Yes, we pay AutoTrader bills, but really their customers are the people who go on that site and log on. And then AutoTrader steer that customer to us as a retailer, and then it's our job to you know.
So I guess going on to the final function.
Yes.
Purchasing.
Yes.
From my experience, I feel like this is the hardest bit. Because if you don't have the knowledge or the understanding or the connections, where the hell do you begin? And I listened to, and shout out to Dealerway.
Yeah.
Brilliant podcast you did
with
those guys. And as I was listening to that, I was learning a lot from you. And you said that you do all the buying.
Yes.
1 day a week.
Yeah, predominantly.
And you're buying like 25 cars at a time.
Could be, yeah. So I mean, at the minute it's quieter, so probably not as many as that. But yes, yeah. I'll do lists and I'll go and I'll buy.
How much of that is coming from the knowledge and experience in your head, or are you quite analytical when you?
So I look at a list of vehicles and I go through it and I see what I would define as a Car Quay car. Would that car fit our forecourt? Would we sell it?
Is that instinct?
Yeah, I suppose. It's just knowledge of knowing what we sell and what we've sold over the last 7 years of trading. So I
was hoping you was going to give me a formula, but clearly
well,
not.
No, but it really depends on you know what you want to do as a business. I mean, if it's a bolt onto a garage, you would say, well, would I want to sell late and low mileage stuff that all the supermarkets have? You know, as a garage, what's your strength? If you are predominantly a workshop, that means you have an ability to fix things cost effectively.
Yeah.
So if you are competing in a market with a garage, like let's say we both went out and let's say I didn't have a workshop and I was outsourcing my work. We both go and buy a 10-year-old 5 Series that's done 100,000 miles. It's going to cost you 300 quid to prep it. It's going to cost me £1,000 to prep it because I haven't got a workshop. So for me, you have an inherent advantage based on the fact that you've got people who can fix those cars cost effectively versus a garage that can't. So if you were to, what I would basically say is if you're a workshop and a garage, is probably sell the stuff that you've got knowledge to fix or that you've got the software for. So we earlier this year, we bought the Merc, the Audi and the BMW software and spent a fortune. I mean, again, you guys, if you spend tens of thousands of pounds more than we ever do across the chain, but you know, we've invested in that software so that we don't have to send stuff out. But a lot of garages won't necessarily have it, so they'll then rely on sending stuff out to us. So it's an advantage
for you, yeah.
But that's what I think for a workshop. You know, if you were to just sell easy stuff to prep, I don't think you're playing to your strengths there. Your strengths is the fact that you can get a car fixed significantly cheaper than a garage that doesn't necessarily.
And when you mention the margin in the car, say $3,000 is the figure that you've mentioned a few times.
Yeah.
Is that $3,000 from the price of the chassis to the retail sale price, or are you taking things like auction fees out of that?
So my invoice price. So if a car is hammered down at say £9,600, I'm going to get invoiced £10,000 for that car. 95.50. I'm then going to get an invoice for £10,000
from fees.
With fees, on. So that comes with the fees. So again, if I physically paid £10,000, I'd want to be $12,995 in that car.
Right, okay.
So it sounds like a lot of money, guys. But again, so you might chip a couple of 300 quid to do the deal. So you've maybe got 2,600 quid left in it. Take your VAT out of it, which is going to be about 300 or 400 quid on there. So you're down to say 2,200 quid. And then suddenly you've got, you know, AutoTrader. It's 150. Well, our advertising cost per sale is about 150 quid. So suddenly you're then down to under £2,000. Then you've got to service it. You've got to MOT it. You've got to clean
warranty
it.
provision.
You've got to and very quickly £3,000 that's on it at the forecourt. Very quickly is down to £700 or £800 often. And all it takes is that car to have gone out for a week and a half, and a headlight or a wing mirror to fault or something like that.
It can be all gone.
All gone in a heartbeat.
So at the end of the deal, would you be happy with £700, £800?
Again,
not happy, but
well, the difference is this: is obviously we don't put our direct prep costs against each
against
car.
an individual vehicle.
So when I get to the end of the month, what I see is total margin. I see total workshop spend, all our fixed costs and overheads. Everything minused off that margin, and then
so
what's
it's all
left
bundled together. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And again, I feel because of the size of the enterprise and the what we do now and our business, it's going to be more difficult to be particularly effectively to analyze effectively. What I don't want to do is tie up a full, because you almost think it's almost like a full-time job, for somebody to start.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
checking
absolutely.
and logging all these things, and I look at headcount. We've got a lot of bodies, man. Wage line is very big in the business, and we need the people that we've got.
Which function? So we've spoke about prep, sales,
yes,
purchasing. Where do you win? Where are you better than others?
The way we write our adverts and we photograph our cars, I think is an advantage. We kind of
that makes a big difference.
I think somebody picking up an advert, if somebody can't spell, for example, and again, it's nothing against people who can't spell, but if I read grammatical or spelling errors, maybe just because I'm a prick, puts me off.
Yeah, no, it's fair.
I don't like to see it, but maybe I'm a snob, and
no,
need to. But maybe again the younger generation coming through, it's less important. They
That's what most of did. Is they didn't put a description, did they?
I know.
On AutoTrader.
But I, if you actually, someone's taken the care to write a description and it's descriptive and it tells a story, which is what our adverts do. We put nearly 100 photos on of every car. So I think there's a combination of that. I think our reviews are very helpful. We got an average review score of, AutoTrader's just slipped to 4.7 because of a really annoying motor trade customer who came Sunday. But that'll go back up to 4.8 with a couple of good reviews. Google, there's nearly 1,000 on AutoTrader. There's 580 as of last night on Google, 4.8.
That's really good.
I mean, you think Google is anyone, and they're not.
Well, people are going to check both, aren't they?
They do
straight away.
Car Guru's score's 4.1. It's higher than that, but they basically just do an average of your last 12 months worth of adverts now. So again, but Car Guru's again 1-star review, because when I got there and they told me the car was at compound and there'd be 15 minutes. After 30 minutes, I left. 1 star. To the point where I've now modified our adverts that say, please call prior to visiting to ensure that the vehicle that you're interested in is physically on site, still available for sale, to basically make your experience better. And if anyone ever then hits me with the, the car's not here. Oh, okay, let me just show you the advert that says we recommend that you ring before. But you have to do those things to counter that 1 in 100 car sold, which is annoying. But so I think we advertise well. I think we market our vehicles well. The reviews are very useful. I think I've got a team of people who work well together. We've got a good team of people on the sales side.
Do you like managing people?
No.
Do you struggle with it?
So I like leading, i.e. positive, upbeat, motivating, throwing myself on the front line, getting involved with customers as well. In terms of day-to-day managing people's days and asking them to do things, no.
So you like leading, not managing?
Yeah. I struggle to manage my own day, my own life. I do. I really
do. You have people in the business to help you with that?
Better managers, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, But I'm lucky to have a bunch of sales team who are pretty much very self-sufficient and will crack on and do what they need to do. But
you say luck. I don't think there's any luck involved in that.
Okay, no, we've picked good people. Yeah. We've got good people. They've been trained right. They've learnt the Car Quay way.
Who want to work for you.
So fortunate in that sense.
Do you have a couple more questions? Because we are over record length in podcast. We are officially in uncharted territory.
Cool. Yeah. I like it.
What advice would you give to someone who's got a business, maybe just themselves and a dog's body, just helping them out? How do they progress from that point? Like, because there'll be a lot of people stuck in that.
So as in what, somebody who's got a workshop, or just somebody who just wants to start getting into the
I guess advice kind of for both of them.
Okay.
So someone who's perhaps selling off the driveway, or they've got a small unit, or they're thinking about starting.
Yeah.
Would you do it today? Would you start today?
Yeah, I mean, I can sit here and like I get stressed out with this job at times. I really do. But I'm a car salesman. That's what I am. It's my identity. It's what I've been since I was 20. You know, I'm 44 now, although I clearly don't look it. No, you look 60. But no, genuinely, yeah, it's the thrill of the sale and the buzz. But I think if you've got a workshop, I'd then be looking to buy cars from my customers. You know, that would be a good way of buying, for example. Just rushing off to auction and buying stuff. Like, I didn't buy from auctions to start with, and I didn't, you know, and I felt very nervous in an auction. Like, it freaked me out.
Where did you buy from?
So I was buying cars out of a couple of dealer friends I knew, so I could go to their site, main dealers, family-owned main dealers. Another friend with a garage, you know, knew some people in the trade, and just. But I tell you how I started, what the advice would be is, and this is the deal I did before opening my original business in 2010. I went on. I bought the Derby Evening Telegraph. I looked in the classified section. I looked for a car that was really badly advertised, like had a terrible picture of half a bumper and a wheel. Mm-hmm. The narrative had been written by a 3-year-old and a crap advert, and it looked dirty. I'd go to the house. I'd go and negotiate on price. I'd buy it. I'd get it home. I'd clean it. I'd go and park out in a field or with a nice background. I'd take a beautiful photo. I'd go and buy the car for, say, £400 or £500, and I'd relist it £1,000 a week later. Same car, same marketing for just better advert. Sell them. Do you know what I mean? And that's no word of a lie, guys. That's how I bought cars. That's how I bought some of my cars.
I used to buy stuff from, I worked at a dealer for £1. So a lot of the part exchange, like Cavaliers and Astras, it was literally £1. I was like, I'll have that.
They were the great days, man. But yeah, that was it. Just market and better. When I was selling off my drive before going again, I was again buying out of dealers, buying some off eBay, seeing some cheap stuff on AutoTrader, like locally, going and chipping them and then buying it and then relisting it. And sometimes I'd be working for £300 or £400. So I wasn't, I sold 30 cars. It's not like I made 30 grand selling my drive. Yeah. Maybe 15. But do you know what I mean? But even then,
you working for it.
I was sat at home before getting the papers from BCA thinking, I'm quite comfortable with this. I'm all right with this. I can sell some cars off my drive and, not be beholden to anyone, not have to be in a unit at time to time and make the business work around me. And as I say, unfortunately, or fortunately, should I say, that
it's worked well in the end, isn't it?
It has, and as much as I've kind of had a little moan and pop at them and stuff, and equally with AutoTrader a little bit, as much as I got a lot of AutoTrader, without those challenges or those things put in front of me, I would not be where I am today.
Wouldn't have driven you to make them actions, would it?
Same with the last business. If it had not gone belly up, I wouldn't be where I am now. So I have no regrets of anything, and I wouldn't change anything.
I think it is when you're signing these, personal guarantees, they're accountabilities, aren't they? And it's like that's why banks often want to sign. If a bank £50 loan and you sign for it or whatever, it's not the money from the bank, it's the fact that you're willing to put something on the line to show commitment. Yeah. Otherwise, if you had all this money and you could go, actually, I can't be asked for this. Fuck it, I'll go tomorrow. I'm going to go.
Yeah,
but it's just flipped. If you were going to lend a substantial sum of money to someone, you want commitment, don't you?
Yeah, you need something. You need to know. Yeah, you need to know you're going to get it back, and if you don't, that there's going to be some pain for the person who you've lent it to.
It makes you kind of strive through.
But I would certainly say go for it. I would certainly say don't overexpose yourself. Again, make sure you can do. It took me to be selling 30 cars off a drive to realise that I can do this, and I am doing it. And actually, the only thing holding me back from doing more and doing it better is not having a dedicated premises. Yeah. I would say do not, if you've not done it before, right, go and find a 50-car unit or a 30-car unit and do all these things until you know that you have your process, you've got your source of cars, you know where you're going to get them prepped, you know what advertising platforms to use and works for you. So that, again, I'd done it before. So I had the benefit of experience of having run my own car dealership. But on top of that, I had 4 or 5 months at home churning them out.
How important do you think the owner-operator model is? in your game?
You care more. And this is the thing. If I get a bad review, there's a couple of things happen. One, I'll try and reach out to the customer before to say, look, we not intend to make you feel this way. And you try and love them up to a point where they'll take the review down. If I was an employee for a PLC and we got a bad review, would I put my heart on the line and my body on the line to try and get that review down? I probably wouldn't so much, because I would be thinking, well, I'd reply to it, but I would, so yeah, absolutely.
But would your business be, if you, how much does your business rely on you now?
It does in some respects, although the operational side of it running, it kind of runs itself because of the people that are in there. Don't get me wrong.
Course, yeah.
So the main thing that would change tomorrow if I wasn't in the business is because at the minute I've got an ex-auctioneer who now buys and sells cars. He buys some cars for me every week. I pay him a little fee for each one. I've got a trader who puts some stuff on.
Is he outsourced?
So he will go to the auctions that I use, and he'll buy a car and he'll be like, that's for Car Quay.
Right.
I get the invoice, and then he invoices me a little fee for sticking his hand up. Yep. He knows my stock because I've bought cars through him for a long time. Another trader I use. So yeah, they would have to ramp up what they bought. There is an argument for us to have a little car buying site alongside our website, which would generate stock that way. I've just worked out through a friend how to write our adverts through ChatGPT. It asks us 6 questions and then does the ad, which is brilliant. So it's not the same speed as me writing an advert before. It's about the same speed. It's not quicker. But what it means is now is anybody in the business could sit on a computer and it can just ask. So I could get the team writing adverts now. So in that sense,
do you go away much?
No.
No,
I don't.
Is that because you can't, or because you don't want to, or it's just not?
I suppose a multitude of reasons. I got a friend's got a holiday home in Norfolk, what I can use 2, 3, 4 times a year to go for weekends. My wife had a lung operation in 2018. It's a lung kept collapsing, so she'd been very reluctant to fly.
Right. Yeah. Of course.
So because of that, we've driven to Europe. Which is fine, because I quite like getting on the Eurotunnel and then blasting down to Italy or something, staying on the way for a couple of weeks. But no, I moved house last March to a house out in the countryside. I love being at home. So we actually, when we go away, we prefer a house, to being. We've got a nice place to live. So I work from home Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and I'm working less weekends now than I've done before. So
can you switch off?
No.
You're on all the time?
Unfortunately not.
Do you have any hobbies to distract you?
Yeah, just get completely blasted, and I forget.
Then you forget until Monday morning.
We have WhatsApp groups, which I'm in. I've come out of 70% of them, which has helped. Because I don't need to know that a driver's on his way to Manchester to pick a car, or I don't need to know that this part's been ordered, or that Mrs. Jones has rang and she's got an issue with a car. But the main groups we have, which are the full group that everybody in the business is in, which is where we record our sales. But the problem is then on a Saturday, all I'm doing is
checking sales.
I'm waiting to see it, and it's like getting like when people say with social media, you get a notification, you get that what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, there's another word.
You get a bit of a buzz from it.
I forget what it is, but I see a deal. But if it's 2:00 on a Saturday and we ain't done a deal, I'm the storm clouds on my head, and I'm trying to be present with my family. And this is the other.
Is that a battle for you?
Yeah, I'm trying to be present and get off my phone, get off your phone.
How old are your kids?
So Sam's 14. Wife. I mean, I've been with Lucy on and off since we're 20. So but just even being with her. There is always a layer of I never feel relaxed. This is a problem. I never feel relaxed.
So part of your brain's constantly whirring, isn't it? No matter what's going on.
I would say I've got a bit, again, PTSD from my old business. So
do you still worry that might happen again?
Yeah, absolutely. There is an inherent worry or danger inside me that I can't shake off because of where I've been before, where I never ever want to be in that situation I was in where I just wanted to go to sleep because it was the only time I didn't feel stress. Do you know what I mean? And then I'd wake up and within 5 or 10 seconds of waking up, it would sink in the reality that I was facing.
I watched a podcast last night of Toto Wolff. It's on the the
high performance.
Yeah,
and he was saying that it wasn't until he got into his 50s that he used to be like that. He used to worry that this could all, because he came from nothing, that it could all go at some point. And he said when he got into his 50s, it's actually started to relax a little bit more. And he's a bit of a different level, I think, with a few billion.
It's all relative, though, isn't it?
Yeah. But I want to. At times, I do question actually, who am I anymore? What am I? Do you know when you become so ingrained as your business is everything? Like I start to question, what am I? Who am I? Do you know what I mean? Am I this creature that just needs the dopamine hit? That was the word I was looking for. These dopamine hits of selling cars. It makes ridiculous. Like a car sale, the way it makes me feel, it's like drugs. It is like drugs. Not that I take drugs, but every time I see it, it's a hit, and then I see cancelled. And it's the fucking roller coaster every day.
It's funny, isn't it? Because it's that same thing that drives you to where you've got to.
I know.
And we often speak about when you're entrepreneurial or you're driven, it's great to get to a place and then think, I want to get off this train now, and you can't, because you can't decide to be different to what you are.
No, I know. I say that it's a curse in some respects. Like, yes, it drives you to get where you've got to, but then you have to live a life where you're perpetually disappointed because nothing is ever enough.
Yeah, it's a bit like insanity, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
You're never content.
But we had some fantastic results during those 3.5 years of the pandemic, and it hit me really hard. The last 12 months have been difficult for me, guys. I will tell you that now openly. I don't mind admitting it, because I felt that if we weren't, from when I set the new business up, I felt that if we made less money than we'd made the year before, that was it. It was going to be disaster. That's it. We're done.
He wants to keep going.
So we kept going and going and going, and then kept growing and growing and growing the business to make sure that we would make more money that following year. And then last year we made less than we'd made the previous year, born out of that second 6-month period. So I had to do some real soul searching and real self-coaching to tell myself that it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay that we haven't done that this year. No one's coming to take the business away. No one's taking your house away.
Black cloud come over you.
No. But and then again, and I think part of it is because of what happened in my previous business, where I lost everything, and then I was faced with being kicked out of my house. Do you know what I mean? And reputationally destroyed. That drove me, and seeing my wife and my parents being distraught, that was such a driver to make me do. So it's been difficult to almost get off that race, because I just had to pedal hard and just blinkers on, and go and go and go and go and go, because you the only way you're going to get out of this situation you're in is to do this
forward. Yeah.
But then you're still in that mindset when everything's safe now. All the debtors have been paid. No baddies are coming for money. There's no one's going to come and take my business away.
Still looking over your shoulder.
But I'm still. And the second it slips, you're then into panic mode. Not panic mode, but like, fuck, what's going to happen? I cannot, whatever happens, ever be in that situation I was in at that point, and it's a.
So what's the plan?
Curse.
Where do you want to be in 5 years? You mentioned 50.
You ready?
Let's say
where
50,
do I want to be?
50 years old. Where are you?
I don't want to feel stressed. I don't want to feel as stressed out as I feel. I want to feel present, okay, when I'm with my family and my friends. Maybe discover again a bit who I am and what I am, and maybe get some hobbies to help me switch off and stuff like that. To have my business in a position where it isn't reliant on me. And be in a situation where, like, I had aspirations of taking over the world and having the biggest car dealership in the world. But for what? For what? I want to make the most amount of money in the world, but for what? Actually, what is important to me, and what if tomorrow I got ran over by a bus, or I had some, God forbid, an illness, and I was going to have 6 months left. I wouldn't want to look back with regrets and think to myself, like, why have I done all this? I've wasted some of the best years of my life, and don't get me wrong, it's not a waste. Like I say, the job has given me purpose. It's given me and my family a really good standard of living that we wouldn't necessarily have if I'd not done it. Personally, it's given me success, awards and things like that, which yes, they're only pieces of, transparent perspex with your name written on them, but they are validation that you're good at what you've done.
Yeah.
And you've made a difference, you know, and I'm not about the money, man, Mike. It's not just about the money, it's about winning. And as I say, I've just felt in the last 12 months that we're not winning, which is why I unlike historically, I take solace out of seeing that everybody's having a tough time. I don't want people to have a tough time, don't get me wrong, but it's making me deal with it being less successful than it. And actually, I suppose someone outside looking in would say, Jesus Christ, compared to what's happening, you're wildly successful as a business. You're making profit. You know, you own your cars, and you've got a motivated team, and you've got good review. You know, you're actually still winning. It's just that framework for what winning is different to what it was a year ago. Do you know what I mean? Because but I see the bottom line, and it's not because I need that money. I don't need that money. Not like I've got loads of money. It's not, but
It's
I don't need it.
Isn't
it. A byproduct of success in this industry is profit.
Yeah.
So if you're really profitable, that means that you're doing the job right. And when you're less profitable, naturally you would then think that you're not doing the job as well as you could do it. And all I am being, I believe, is overly hard on myself at the minute, because we are still making money. We're making changes and improvements in the business. And
when you're just peddling, I find that you feel like you're sacrificing today for tomorrow.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and when do you draw a line?
When is tomorrow?
Yeah.
When is the point where you say, no, actually, I am going to now?
Yeah, like what are you actually going to be happy with, and when can you stop and change that directional focus?
So, but I have to probably do a lot more soul searching and questions of myself and stuff. What I am optimistic that we are in a tougher time, that just naturally in the coming months, I don't believe the level of business that is out there and the cost of business that it is necessarily, I say, sustainable. If we're a good business and we're making a profit, but we're not making a lot of profit, but we're making some profit, then again, I think that this industry becomes significantly more difficult for people to get into and do it. So there has to be a change at some point. Either margins start to increase, or the rules change again. I don't know, but
I don't think we're riding a big wave at the minute, aren't we? But it's just you don't know when that wave's going to end.
It just feels like I say, but I think we will get to a point in a couple of months where it will just become back to normal again, and it will feel busier again, and we'll you know, you're having to battle for everything at the minute, which is fine. You know, no, again, if it's too easy, it's no fun, is it? You know, but
and again, if it's too easy, I mean, from where I'm sitting in particular, not to speak on behalf of Leo, you're definitely winning.
Don't feel like it.
No,
I appreciate
it never does it?
No.
This is the thing, and I think sometimes rationally, all you got to do is read the news. All you got to do is see some groups have been really struggling.
Yeah.
Independents closing.
Yeah.
We're trying to get into this game. I'd like to think that we know how to run a business.
Yes.
We're really struggling with vehicle sales.
Yeah. It's not easy, man.
It's been, and we had 2 or 3 really good years.
Yeah.
And then we've been in 1 year of absolute agony, to be honest with you.
I get it, man, because we've had the same.
Yeah.
You know, and it's very easy to think when you're in those good times that this is easy, and it felt easy. Do you know what I mean? And I'd be walking my dog thinking, man, 4 or 5
we'd never seen it any other way.
No,
we were so overconfident because we were like, oh, I've come into this game.
I remember saying that in Vans, I was like, this isn't right.
It's too easy. It's too easy. Yeah. We're making too much money. Why is not everybody doing this?
Yeah.
But like you say, it has. We've come back down to reality with a thump. But again, that gives me some confidence that if a lot of our competitors did start in the really good times, that they may have been complacent like we were in terms of looking at certain areas of the business.
We were very complacent.
Yeah, but because they've not come from a background where they've done it for many years, that I genuinely...
It's the foundations, the foundations.
I don't want to see it, and I mean this, I don't, but I genuinely believe that a lot of the garages that have set up selling cars over the last few years during the really good times that are not going to
We know a few people that have stopped.
Yeah.
Don't we?
Yeah.
What an amazing story.
Wow.
Honestly, like... Talk about resilience, bounce back, entrepreneurial spirit, drive. It's got it.
Find it hard, man. Take compliments.
It's got it all. No, honestly,
seriously.
I can't believe how long that is, and I have never been so engaged in a story.
I appreciate that. And thank you for inviting me on. It's nice. It's interesting to come and talk, and helps me, because again, it helps me rationalise, and for you to say some nice things and tell me how it is out there makes me feel less irritated by the fact that we're not winning as much as we should be winning.
Do you get to speak to lots of peers in the industry, or do you?
if somebody reaches out to me, I'll always try and talk to them, give them my time if I can. I would say that's perhaps one of the reasons why I've been fortunate enough to win some dealer awards. I spent a lot of time in the pandemic doing podcasts, doing Facebook Lives.
Yeah.
But I think it's difficult because as an industry, we don't get to see lots of other people. So I think I've sometimes won those awards out of the fact that maybe there's no one else out there doing some. Do you know what I mean? I'm not talking myself down there.
You are.
But no, I'm not, because I feel that
you're trying to justify it.
I'm not. Honestly, I'm a fucking lad from Spondon, man. I sell cars. That's it. You know what I mean? I know you. Oh no, you've done this and done that.
You're an entrepreneur with a very big business.
Fucking hell, yeah. Fucking big headaches. You know what I mean? But I am grateful for your well wishes, and I wish you guys every success. And again, if you ever need to reach out, you want some advice or something,
I'd love to pop. I mean, it's only literally up the road for me. I'd love to pop in for a coffee one day. Yeah.
People see it online. They're like,
why don't you do your garage there?
Could do. We do a YouTube series going around people's garages as well.
More than welcome to, lads, any time. But yeah, no, I'm grateful for you having me on today. Thank you.
We'll wrap up 2 hours 15 record. Smashed it. Really enjoyed that.
We'll get your trophy.
Yeah, nice. I appreciate it.
It'll be a plastic one.
Yeah. There's a trophy. You got a mug on the ramp mug.
Sweet, man.
Special.
Yeah, listen, I love a mug. I love a branded mug. I do, man. I do. Nice one.
I hope you enjoyed that. Any comments? Please get them in the comment section, and any feedback, and thanks for your time. We'll see you on the next one.
Cheers.
Thank you. Bye bye.